coming up here. Yeah, so we can limber up whilst they limber up, and we all get a little bit more.
Who wants to start singing?
Like around the campfire, that kind of thing. Whilst the rabbi gets oiled up.
We'll do a rousing round of row your boat from Star Trek.
I would like to officially apologize on behalf of the Spacebook for that mental image Dan just gave all of us.
Yes.
Sorry, Rabbi. I love you, man, but I don't want to see the oiled up thing.
Tell you, that's what AI was made for. That's the image that will destroy the world.
Yeah.
Oh god, it's great to be back. A couple of weeks ago, obviously, most of us, got together for a bit of a chat, which went off in all sorts of different directions. We're going to try and keep it sort of semi on track this time, semi on track,
but semi on track, dude. Last week, our pre-show, which we are doing now, turned into the entire show.
Yeah. Funny how that works, isn't it?
Right.
And it got a shadow band as well. But in for a penny, in for a pound, I say.
Are you sure that this wasn't my presence?
No. Come on now. I think it was the list of topics. But what I like about this show, and please people, because we've got people watching already, thank you everybody who's here already. What I like about this show, when I go back to the video afterwards and I check the notes afterwards and I check the various stats and things, is it gives you a rundown of the people who we've mentioned. So AI at Google tracks who we've spoken about, and the eclectic sort of name counts, and they take pictures as well from IMDb or somewhere or Google. There's a picture of everybody that we talk about, and they're so eclectic on these shows. It's like people like Charles Hawtrey and Kenneth Connor, and you get Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky and all these other people. So I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the breadth of people that we have mentioned on this show, guys. So we try and keep that up. There are people here already. Thank you, guys. We're going to get cracking as soon as we can because there's a lot to talk about, a lot to have a moan about, as always. Some things to drool over. We do like to keep our punters happy here at the Spacebook Live, and some special greetings as well to dish out. I'm happy to say so. Without further ado, it's him.
Wow, this hotel is amazing.
Oh, no.
Who are you?
Who are you?
Wrong answer.
Wait, Daddy, this is Blair. He booked this room with Priceline Express deals and saved a ton.
Oh, yeah, I didn't have to bid, and I got everything I wanted.
Oh, good.
I always do.
Oh, good. You seem nice.
Oh, baby.
Brilliant.
Happy birthday to the chat. Straight out of the trap with this loose in the community and 100% as raw as ever. It's the Spacebook Live with your roundup of the week in geek for Saturday, the 22nd of March, 2025, which just happens to be the 94th birthday of the great William Shatner, everybody. I'm sure that we'll be pleased, gratified that Shatner is still with us for another trip around the sun with us on planet Earth.
I am.
Fabulous news, isn't it, everybody? Fabulous news. We've got a packed panel as well of not just William Shatner fans, but movie and TV and general sort of geeky, culty fans too. So Gary Akers is here, the retro doc, capped up and ready to go. We've got Noel Glynn from the TARDIS Zone this time in the other corner. Good to have you back, mate, particularly after we have the rabbi from another planet, straight hot foot from his own live stream there, doing double bill, a double shift with us until he sort of passes out, really, from all the excitement.
I will be, because next week I'm going to be 3 hours ahead. So
give him an hour. Give him an hour and he'll be out. He'll be like, "Oh lads, I have to go. I have to go."
No, that's going to happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got Bolstrek and Frank. At least I think it's Frank. That looks like somebody
that's
else.
Not Frank.
That's not Frank.
Oh, no way. Who's that now?
Yeah, you know it was flying, mate.
It's going to be Donkey Karen.
Yes, this is Donkey Karen. As I said, Frank had been canceled. So Donkey Karen canceled Frank, and she's
Oh,
here
no.
to observe the show, and she's going to cancel everyone because, as
Hang
you all
on,
know,
man. This is getting hard to keep up with. First we got Frank, then Frank's in jail. Now we got this Donkey Karen.
well, we're
What
gonna
the fuck is going on?
Noel, as you know, the story is once again on New Year's Eve, Frank did some terrible things after partaking in some speedballs and other things. It's gone viral, and Donkey Karen spread what Frank did, and it was terrible. Like, my God, I don't know how I can associate with Frank going forward, because what he did is just disgusting, although he doesn't actually remember it. So Donkey Karen has been spreading that all over the internet. So Frank is now canceled thanks to Donkey Karen, and she's here to say hello to all of us. So say hi to our good friend Donkey Karen.
You should have called him Donkey Trudeau, man. In all fairness.
Oh, he's gone. You guys worse.
I know. That.
Speaking of
he's Irish, isn't he? He's Irish. Sorry, Canada. He's Irish, I think. Sorry, Canada.
The thing is, what Donkey Karen doesn't realize is that we've all been cancelled about 15 times over anyway.
Yeah.
By her standards. I'm not sure that Z3PO, who's our plucky guest on the panel this time, have you ever been cancelled, Z? Have they ever got you?
No, is the answer to that one. I have never been cancelled for anything I've said. I've had people look at me with scorn and wag their fingers and tut to themselves, but no, never been cancelled per se.
But you're only cancelled if you allow yourself to be cancelled.
I agree.
Exactly.
So,
don't give
you know
them
what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. That's why I've never been cancelled, and none of us have ever been cancelled, because we're still here. We refuse to go away. So keep it up.
At least they've remained consistent and just been generally abusive to everybody.
That's it.
No, Frank isn't here. He's gone.
I'm disappointed. I am.
Well, he'll be back. We're working on the uncancellation right now.
Yeah.
Bring it back with the campaign, won't we? The campaign starts here at the Spacebook on YouTube and Rumble, as always, streaming from Saturdays from 8 p.m. UK. With movies, with TV, with streaming, pop culture, physical media, comic books, and everything else that you can geek out about. We cover it all here. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and this is where we cover all of out there entertainment as best we can in no real order of any kind.
Actually, it's saying that. Have you seen the titles for Doctor Who have come out?
I haven't yet. I haven't. I know that they've been released, but I haven't had a chance to have a proper look yet. But I think we're about 3 weeks out from Doctor Who coming back, so I'm sure there'll be we've got plenty of time to take all that in and to cover all of that as well. Whether it's going to set the world alight, I've no idea.
No, they're not. I mean, listen,
they're just going to spew it with shit.
But happily, the world has been united in its. I've got to be strict about the no Doctor Who stuff, because we will be. If you think we lost it to politics, we will lose the entire show to Doctor Who.
No, we won't.
Why talk about Doctor Who when we can wish William Shatner a very happy 94th birthday, everybody?
Actually, I can't believe he's 94, though. I mean, he looks well for 94, doesn't he? And I think he's everybody's favourite captain anyway, but 94 and he's still going strong. Like, he hasn't stopped. That man.
I like a bit of Cisco action myself.
But in fairness, though, this man hasn't stopped working since he's been in the film industry. I mean, that's a long time now. Like,
he could probably still roll over car hoods better than any of us.
Yeah.
Probably
He's great in Boston Legal. I loved him as Denny Crane.
Oh, that is a classic.
Yeah,
to be honest, I think he's great in pretty much everything. I mean, we talked about Shatner a few weeks ago, so we won't spend too much time wishing him happy birthday yet again. But like you said, Chris, this man learned an entire different language simply so he could appear in a film.
Esperanto. And I know I've recommended this several times, but I'm going to recommend this again. Y'all must check out Incubus, recently released in Region 1 and Region 2 by Arrow Video. One of 4 movies made in the language of Esperanto, which is an invented language. So literally, they learned an entire language for this movie. Basically, it does have subtitles, but it's,
I would rather put my finger up my ass. Really?
No. It's have you never wanted to watch William Shatner 1 year before Star Trek speaking in tongues?
No, never.
Really? Oh,
I would literally rather put my finger up my ass.
I don't.
Wow.
Well, that's that's your prerogative.
That's
Everybody
a metric.
else,
Let me tell you, that's
other
real
than
metric.
putting fingers in bums, watch Incubus because it's awesome. I have watched it twice. If I still drank, I would be getting drunk while watching it. So I, drink the alcohol or do the other stuff that you may do, and you'll have an experience.
I
Tell
love
me
the
more
joy
about the
on
fingers
William
and
Shatner
thumbs.
and Leonard Nimoy's faces here. See, of course, William Shatner is pop culture's second favourite Canadian after our very own Bolstrek there. But are you a big Shatner fan, Z? Because I know obviously the Star Wars is very prevalent with you, given your name. But are you a Trek guy as well?
I am a Trek guy as well, yes, and I love the original series. I love Shatner. Watched TJ Hooker when it was on over here, and absolutely love the man. I know it's not him posting on X, and it's probably an intern or a family member, but I still find his posts very, very funny. And I think I've still got a couple of Captain Kirk action figures in the loft.
You
Who
really?
was the really hot person on the TJ Hooker titles? We always got
That was Heather Locklear.
Heather Locklear, yeah, she was
that was
lovely.
Heather Locklear.
Yeah.
So who was the one in the full guy?
That was Heather Thomas.
And they basically had the same pose,
Yes.
right, in the titles. It was like
Yeah.
very easily confused.
Heather Locklear on the TJ Hooker titles was doing that really bad dance where she's going.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it was
yeah,
like,
I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have
they
you ever seen
fulfill
Pam
the same
and Tommy?
function. Really.
Look, I'm going to give a shameless plug for Pam and Tommy. It's on Disney Plus. It's about Pamela Anderson and Tommy, whatever his name's.
Tommy Lee's
Lee's
right.
relationship, right? It's fabulous. And the girl from Downton Abbey plays Pamela Anderson, and she's listen. The special effects of the visual effects are fantastic.
Yeah,
I say they are.
Yeah,
James.
incredible, right? And also there's like lots of comedy bits where like Tommy Lee is having like a long conversation with his CGI penis, right? About how much he loves Pamela
Isn't
Anderson.
Pamela Anderson?
That.
Isn't Pamela Anderson Canadian too?
Yes, she is.
Is she?
Yep.
Wow. You Canadians still really have the best imports, don't you?
They really do.
Yeah, and some things we export to Britain and end up coming back to Canada and taking over our country. But I shall not mention the name which shall not be said because that will get us in trouble again.
Just one more quick thing on Shatner. What would you say is your favorite thing you've seen Shatner in? Is it Star Trek or is it something else?
It's going to be Star Trek, dude.
The Shatner moment is him missing his chair after his son was killed in Star Trek 3.
Yeah,
I have to agree. I didn't really grow up with Star Trek in the same way that the kids slightly older than me had. So for me, he was actually primarily TJ Hooker on TV every week.
Captain Kirk.
No way.
Trek was on, and I used to see it, but I never particularly I never really gravitated towards it until the film started coming out, and that's when I sort of really got into Star Trek. So for me, strangely, he was predominantly TJ Hooker.
TJ Hooker
over the intervening decades, obviously. It's Captain
it's a good show though. The only thing the premise is actually stupid because he's a detective, but he's not a detective because his partner was shot and he feels guilty. So he's put into the academy to teach the academy, but still acts like a detective throughout the whole show.
I haven't seen it for years.
Oh, I watched it recently. I'm telling you now, some of the stuff we talk about wokeness today and how to do TV today. TJ Hooker covered a lot of fucking social issues like racism, the gang culture, the drug culture, and it did it very well. I mean, there's one particular episode, I can't think of the name, but where TJ Hooker, he completely loses the plot because girls, I think they're getting pushed into prostitution or drugs or whatever it is. But he takes it really seriously, and I'm telling you, it's hard-hitting TV. That show was hard-hitting. A very good show.
And for anybody who's interested, if you want to check out TJ Hooker, because I don't know if it's actually airing anywhere in North America, but you can get the complete series set from Shout Factory, and this is 2017 Shout Factory. So once again, they still gave a shit. You can get the entire TJ Hooker series. So
I wonder if that's region free. I'd absolutely have that because you can't get it in Britain.
It won't be. It won't.
Ah.
I think James T. Kirk will always be Shatner's greatest role, but I've also got to give him props for Denny Crane in Boston Legal. His chemistry with James Spader was absolutely incredible. And if you've not watched that series, I would definitely recommend it.
How many seasons is he in?
TJ, Boston Legal? 5.
Yeah.
It was like 5 or 6.
But he was only in the last
after
couple.
5. But I remember watching that, and he was like 74 at the time. No, he was 73. And I remember thinking, wow, he's got that much energy at 73. Now, here we are 21 years after that show premiered. My God, I can't believe he has so much energy at 94.
I just thought a crossover that never happened that should have done is Dempsey and Makepeace with TJ Hooker.
Yes.
That would have been awesome.
I'd absolutely have loved that. William Shatner has responded to all the birthday greetings he's received today, or at least he has officially through his social media. And he says, I'm overwhelmed at the amount of love I have received. My best, Bill, and a big thank you there. So that's there's nothing particularly sort of witty, or there's no sort of slap on Star Wars fans there, which you do sometimes get through Shatner's social medias. That's a pretty honest. It's
a pretty big milestone, though. 95, man. Come on, if we make 95 and look as good as fucking him, we'd be doing well.
Yeah,
we don't have too many living legends anymore, but he definitely is one.
Mm-hmm.
He is, yeah. I don't care what anybody says. Like, he mightn't have had the career that people think he should have had, but he's been in such iconic roles, and Star Trek will be his greatest. And I know he probably wouldn't want to be remembered for that just on its own, because he's achieved a lot more.
I think he actually has had a career that most people would envy, because I would say Captain Kirk is one of the most recognizable figures in the history of entertainment. Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock. So I would say congrats to William Shatner.
Absolutely.
You are the man. And I remember a few weeks ago we were joking that because there's rumors about him playing Captain Kirk again, and everybody's saying, oh well, he probably wouldn't be doing any flying jump kicks. Then I got to thinking, I would be surprised if mid '90s William Shatner could still do that.
I would.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I note about him as well is that there was the Boston Legal thing, there was TJ Hooker, and Star Trek. So 3 pretty big roles for an extended period of time.
Rescue 911.
In between those, he turned his hand to practically anything. And for example, he was in a show called Tech War, which he was listed as one of the creators of, connected to a range of books that he did. And he said he played a sort of mentor figure in that, in a recurring capacity. He was in all sorts of things like Sequest and all those also ran shows.
Sequest. I remember Sequest. That was deadly.
There were some big movies where he played himself in like parody cameo roles, like Loaded Weapon with Emilio Estevez and Samuel L. Jackson. And yet there's other actual movies where he was part of the actual cast. And to my view, to my eye, the man never put in a bad performance. Oh, I'd forgotten all about that. He was brilliant in that.
We can't forget Airplane 2, where he was the guy in charge of the moon or whatever. Yeah.
Prime example.
Right.
So there is more to Shatner.
The goal of an actor is to entertain people and be beloved. I think he's knocked out the park.
Yep.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, as I say, I didn't really grow up feeling that he was my captain, and I love most of the others just as much. But this is an incredible character.
Being honest, though, I don't think Star Trek would have got anywhere if it wasn't for Shatner. Just like with Doctor Who with William Hartnell. Well, if that first casting wasn't done properly, I know they had someone else they brought in, that played Christopher, but that didn't work out forever. But casting Shatner was a stroke of genius, and the same with Doctor Who's casting William Hartnell, and the rest is history. I remember two of the longest sci-fi programs on the planet. Obviously, Doctor Who is number one, but Star Trek is not far. Well, it's not far behind though.
Think of another legendary show like Twilight Zone. When you mention Twilight Zone to anybody, what is the first episode anybody thinks of? Is Nightmare at 20,000 feet with the creature on the plane. That's the first episode anybody.
It's a coin toss. It's either that or Burgess Meredith. People mention it's never anything else.
Well, that episode, I think, is considered one of the top TV moments of all time, and probably one of the most memorable.
Yeah.
He did his earliest television role was a guest role on some legal drama. I don't remember what it was called, but there was an episode of Boston Legal. I think this would have been around 2005, where they're playing where they're talking about the earlier Denny Crane from the 1950s, and they actually input scenes from that legal drama. But I have no idea what it's from. I don't know if it exists entirely. But yeah, so he's been from the 1950s to now. Think of how long that is.
Let us know if you do know what that series was, or if you've seen it. Let us know there in the live chat on YouTube and Rumble, and fill us in. So let us know if it's worth seeing, worth catching up with here at the Spacebook Live. Yeah, we've got lots more to talk about as well.
Halloween,
William Shatner. I mean, when I think about 95-year-olds, and you think, well, how much longer can they feasibly be with us? You think, oh well, he could go at any time. But then again, you think this is the guy who went to space 4 years ago. So realistically, it wouldn't at all surprise me if we end up celebrating the 120th birthday of William Shatner. I don't think it's out of the question at all.
I guarantee you, Dan, he'd be still working.
Look at Clint Eastwood is a couple of years older, and I think he's like 98 now.
Yeah, he's got one more film. And then he's retiring.
I think it's something about that generation. This is the World War II generation. There's something about them where they're built to different stuff than the rest of us. And so William Shatner, and I want to see that Star Trek Kirk thing. Please do it.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
We're still waiting for word on that, aren't we? Shatner was having a meeting about 2 weeks ago about the potential return to Star Trek in a top secret project by somebody whose identity we haven't had.
Do you think it's a fan thing? I wouldn't say it's anything to do with the current crowd.
I think it's official, and I think it's specifically connected to these scenes from Star Trek Picard season 3 and that special Otoy film that came out 3, maybe 4 months ago. I think.
Hold on, because he died in Generations. Yeah.
No, Noel. It was in Picard season 3. The picture that Dan has on the screen right now, when they go and pick up Picard's body at the archive place.
Yeah, I know. I see it. I watched it.
Body was saved. So that's why I think it might be Terry Metalis behind this, because he planted the seed in season 3, which I think is actually a work of genius. He just put it in there. They don't say anything about it. You just see it.
Yeah,
but I think he planted the seed so they
could
do something.
That whole thing was fantastic. Everything about that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. So hang on. Right. So to do that, so they recovered his body on the planet. Yeah. They put it into some form of fucking stasis for all of these years, and now he's going to be somehow revived by using the thing that they used in Picard, because I watched it. I know what you're talking about. But I mean, all right, okay, you bring him back. He is 95, as we said, right? How many seasons can he actually do? And
I would say honestly,
Gary straight away 5. I want them to make 100
movie.
No, I would say 3. I would say he could probably do 3. They will probably have to do them back to back because of his age. But like what I was saying a few weeks ago, if they're going to do this, because he is in his mid-90s, you need to do it now. This is not something that you can have in development hell for 5 years. So if they're going to do it, they need to start shooting it like this summer. And they need to do all of it back to back.
Well, bear in mind,
as our guest for the evening, because obviously we've spoken about this before. Did you follow this Z, is this something you've been keeping track of? And do you find this as delicious a prospect as we all did when we first got
do
Whisperer?
actually, because I did spot this in the talk about Picard season 3. I watched season 1, bitterly disappointed with that. Didn't watch season 2, and season 3 was just chef's kiss. It was absolutely delicious, and to have all of these Easter eggs, nobody puts these things in there and doesn't pay them off later. Surely not. I mean, this also harkens back.
Though, in that scene, you had the Genesis device, right? There's so many things that had in the taste room. I love that.
But this also harkens back to the purpose of cryogenic freezing, where they were supposed to be put into a state of suspended animation until medical technology had progressed to the point where they could be cured. Yeah. So would this not just be a futuristic version of that? I mean, even if you get one series, just a one-off special, that would be fantastic.
I agree. I'd take a TV movie, I'd take an event series, and I think there are numerous MacGuffins, Gary, littered throughout Star Trek history. But
here's
particularly now,
are they going to AOE? So are they going to do the deep fake with his face? Because he is 95. Like, so what time period are they? You know what I mean? If he died in Nexus, they got his body.
But wait a minute,
are they going to make him look like Gary? Generations Cook?
But remember, I don't know how heavily they're going to lean into Generations. Remember that even if you exit the Nexus, you leave part of yourself back there.
Yeah, that's true.
So that could be the way that whatever.
Back in, you should say that, because Star Trek has been having that effect for years. Back in '88, Rabbi, I left part of myself here. I've never been able to get back.
Which part?
The most important part.
That was my favorite episode.
I remember I hate the episode is terrible, but no, this is. I remember this very clearly, Dan. This aired in November 1989, and much younger Bolts Trek was. I like this. Yeah.
Did much younger Bolts Trek have to go in and take a cold shower after watching that episode?
That just proves that the Jane Fonda exercise videos last until the 24th century.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What episode was it? I remember it. Well, I don't remember what episode it was.
Oh, I don't.
It was the opening scene of one of the episodes.
It was like in the third or fourth season.
It's the Rabbi. It's the episode with the wormhole. They want to buy it.
Not the cornhole, the wormhole.
Oh, right. That was I like that one.
Oh, the price.
When they were with the Ferengi.
The price.
Yeah. And then they turn up again in Voyager.
I will say this: if Terry is doing this Cork thing, I'll be actually happy about that, because the last season of Picard, right? I don't care what people say, right? They say, it's just full of Easter eggs and nostalgia. It was more than that, right? If he can recapture what James T. Kirk is all about in this series and give us a fresh new stories, I'll be on board with it. But just don't let Kurtzman anywhere near it, because if he gets his hands on it, I think it'll be done before it's even started.
Shatner and Kurtzman hate each other.
That's good.
Kurtzman made it a point not to bring William Shatner back. So no, I guaranteed Kurtzman is having nothing.
Yeah. So how is he able to come back though? Is Kurtzman losing power now?
I believe he's getting turfed at the end of his contract, and they may buy his contract out, from what I hear. Because this would actually bring Star Trek back completely from the dead. This and shelving Star Trek Academy, or Star Trek Starfleet Academy, whatever it's called, because nobody wants to see that.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah, but they're not going to show. They're going to give it 2 seasons. They're going to let them finish seasons 4 and 5 of Strange New Worlds, and then that'll be it for Kurtzman.
God.
Nobody wants to see the Star Trek Academy thing. I absolutely agree. And it won't matter how they try and talk it up, and they are trying already.
Yeah,
they're running the fence for it before a single episode has ever been aired. A lot more people were a lot happier, particularly in the geek audience, to read of this. A few weeks ago, we had all these articles thrown at us about the death of Blu-ray, not necessarily about any particular sort of line of media. It was very blurry, the picture that was painted. It was very alarmist. And Chris, our resident physical media expert, filled us in on what they were actually stopping producing and that which they weren't. But we did talk a little bit about the fact that Blu-ray players could be increasingly harder to come by. And of course, it's one thing to have the media if you've got nothing to play it on. But we've got had some news on that this week as well, haven't we, Chris? There are new Blu-ray players that are going to be made, it seems. And you sent this to me as well, didn't you, about a new player from Sony? It's their first in a number of years.
Yeah. Well, what this is, so this is Sony's entry-level player, the X700. So originally launched so physically they look the same. I actually purchased the X700. I still have it 7 years later, although it's probably going to go away soon and get upgraded because it's quite old. So originally launched in 2018, had an update in 2019. And then Sony, since 2019, hasn't done anything with their Blu-ray players. They currently have 2 in circulation, the X700, which is this one, their entry level, the X800, which is the higher level version. I have that one as well, which is built by a tank. They had the X1000, which was discontinued. Basically, it was the audiophiles version of the X800. But what this one is, so it was launched this week. Right now, it's just available in Japan. But it will be coming to North America. This will replace the current X700. So physically they look the same, but apparently a lot of the glitches, especially this one also had the 3rd layer switching problem. Those have been fixed. Obviously, it's got new internal hardware. There wasn't really much of a point in changing it because it looks fine, and there isn't really much to the appearance of Blu-ray players or 4K players. But the one criticism that had come about this from most media, I would say, is redundant and doesn't mean anything. So when the X700, the original version, came out, now the new one's called the X700K. When the original version came out, it had your streaming apps, basically Prime, Netflix, and YouTube. Eventually they got rid of Prime. This one is coming under some criticism because they've gotten rid of the streaming apps, but I'm going to tell you why that is completely redundant and doesn't matter. Because when this came out originally, a lot of people did not have smart TVs. A lot of people didn't have streaming sticks. In the early days of streaming, we used our Blu-ray players. You used your PS.
Yeah, my Blu-ray players have got all that built in, and I've never understood why when I can get it all through my TV and various other things.
Well, they also it's with that it's caused some issues with the players. Well, I think the streaming apps may have contributed to the glitchiness of the original player when it was first launched until the firmware update a year later. But as we know, a few months ago, everybody was bemoaning the death of 4K when LG backed out. And I clarified that I did have one of those LG players. They were complete trash. So anybody who did any research, and if you're buying 4K, you're not just the regular consumer, because this is a specialty market. You're doing your research, and that's going to bring you to Sony and Panasonic, and it's going to tell you to avoid LG. Sanyo had a garbage player. That's gone now. Philips had a player that would destroy discs. That's gone now. But this is good news. So Sony has officially released a new 4K player in 2025. This will be the entry level. My guess is they're also going to do the same thing to the X800, update that. So for those people that are bemoaning the death of physical media because players are dropping out of the market, no. What 4K is it's a niche market. That's unlike DVD and Blu-ray. It was only ever envisioned to be a niche market for enthusiasts. Another complaint, which might have some validity, this one will be a little bit more expensive. But then again, as I keep saying, this is a niche market. The only way that Sony, Panasonic, Rayvon, and Magnetar, the latter two are actually the same company, can keep producing players is if they can make some money on it. So unfortunately, because these are not mass produced anymore, they're produced relative to what the actual demand is. They may be a little bit more expensive. I am actually willing to pay a little bit more for a player if it means I can still play my discs. And I don't we're not talking like an
I agree.
insane price, but this is a specialty item. It's the same thing as one thing that I didn't bring up the last time we did a debate on the death of physical media. CDs have been extinct basically for almost 20 years. I bought my last CD in 2006. That was 19 years ago.
Yeah, that's fair.
You can still get CD players. They're all professional grade CD players that go for thousands. But that's where physical media is going. It's a hobby. It's not for the mainstream people. It's for us. We are going to pay a little bit more. It's
like vinyl.
Yeah. Well, this is the physical media version of vinyl. And, mainly it's boutique labels, the good ones, and the one that used to be good but now sucks, known as Scream Shout Factory. But it's going to be, we're going to pay more for it, but we have a new player. So, just after the gloom and doom of a couple months ago, I'd figure I'd bring out some good news.
And Chris,
going to be okay after all.
Hasn't Sony said, Chris, that if you buy one of these, that you get a free copy of the Section 31 Blu-ray?
Oh, wow.
Sold.
Yeah.
Apparently, April or May, depending on where you are in the world, is when you can get this. As you said, Chris, I mean, they do say that the price is going up a little, and it does seem to be pretty functional. They've stripped a few things back, but if that makes for the best Blu-ray player, that's fine.
Nobody was doing. Like I said, Dan, I have the original launch version of this player. The streaming apps, as soon as you went to smart TVs became the standard along with streaming devices. You could tell Sony wasn't supporting the streaming devices on it anymore anyway, because they're basically unusable at this point, but nobody actually used them. So if you are thinking of buying Sony, so there's this, which is their entry level. Then there's the higher one, which is the X800. Like I said, I have both. The difference between them, the picture is a little bit brighter on the current X800. But the difference is construction. Now, this one is just basic plastic, but I think this is still the top-selling player out of all of them, including Panasonic. The X800, it's built like a tank. It's metal. You don't hear anything from it. There's no vibrations, so it will outlast. But if you're looking to get into the market, there's this, and also Panasonic. It was the 450, which had been UK exclusive or European exclusive. Panasonic brought that one over, so it's new to Region 1, but not a new player, just their new entry-level model. Between the two of them, if you have DVDs that you like upscaling, I don't know what Panasonic is doing with upscaling, but I have their basic Blu-ray player. The upscaling of DVDs is unreal. They look like Blu-rays. I didn't believe it until I actually saw it. So everybody rejoice.
Okay.
I have to answer Lord Toth here, because you don't like the Panasonic 820. Yes, I do. The thing, Lord Toth, is its counterpart is the Sony X800. The 820, the Panasonic, usually retails for about $200 more. Although in tests, it does test a little bit higher than the Sony. I am going to be upgrading my X700 because it's getting old, so that will be upgraded this year. I'm debating getting the X800K, but what I might do, because like the 820 is, in most terms, the Panasonic is considered to be the best 4K player all around, unless you want to pay twice the price, which you don't for the the 9,000. So I might be getting the 820 depending on how funds permit to replace my X700, and then my other Sony will go upstairs to my second TV. But no, I'm definitely not downplaying the 820. It's an amazing player, and if I get it, I will do a review on this show.
Excellent.
I have a question for you. To my mind, it still seems to be the best Blu-ray player on the market is a PlayStation 3. Right? It's cheap. It has everything in it. It's never glitched. It just plays. I've never had an issue playing a disc on it. Right? I got PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 because I have Region 3 and Region 1 and Region 2 or whatever it is. Right? Region A and Region C. Whatever. England and America.
Was. Well, when they launched Blu-ray, it was kind of ironic because the PS2 was the worst DVD player, but when they launched Blu-ray, through its entire lifespan, the PS3 was the best player.
I still use it. Here's
why you don't want to. But Rabbi, here's why you don't want to use that as why I don't use game systems as my regular physical media players, because the PS3 after when your PS3 dies, replacing it is going to be a pain. And because of the chipset in the PlayStation 3, it's next to impossible for newer PlayStation systems, the 4 and 5, to be backwards compatible with PlayStation 3 games. So if you have PS3 games and you want to play them when the unit dies,
you can't. That I know.
So that's why it was an amazing player, but same thing as I never used it.
Because here in Israel, you can pick up a PS3 for like $20-$30.
Right?
It's crazy.
Wow.
Okay, well then, Rabbi, stock up and send one to me.
Okay.
Physical media is safe for the time being. Everybody, it's good news. We can all relax. Everything's
well. You have to go and buy it as well. Like again, a lot of people watch their shows online and stuff like that. But I would always encourage that you buy and support physical media. We don't want it to die out. When the digital age came in and everything started getting put on MP3 players, I think that was the worst thing to happen to the entertainment industry and the music industry, to be quite honest with you.
So
while it was handy to have all your music or your films on one little device, people stopped buying the physical media, and this is why these places like HMV died out in the end, because nobody was buying physical media. But it's making it.
What I do though, whenever I got the season 7 Blu-ray on Doctor Who, when I get anything, I always rip it, right? So then I can watch it digitally on my phone if I want, like anything. That and all the extras. This seems to be the best of all. They should make a machine where you can just put your disc in and it'll rip it for you and put it onto a hard drive, right? And then you can access it in like a Netflix.
I think the big studios would have something to say about that. I don't think they'd be too happy.
Yeah.
We've got to check in with a live chat now and see what people have got to say about all of this nonsense, because we've got lots of comments and we've barely said a word to them. So let's hop over to the live chat and check out our friends across social media there on Rumble and on YouTube, so and see what they've got to say.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record,
if it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
Thank you, everybody, for your comments so far, including our friend Lord Thoth there, one of our moderators here at the Spacebook. We've also got, who else is here? We've got, I think, Paul. We've got PD Rich in the live chat too, and various others, including Matty H. Hoyland. Sorry, good to have you with us, Matty, and Darren M. as well. So, same faces, same names, as well as a smattering of new people too. Neville says, good evening. I hope everyone is well. Are you well, Gary?
I'm doing very well tonight.
Abundantly well. Hail back to all. Lucy's joined us again as well.
Hi,
good to have you with us, Lucy. And so Stephen Braddock. Last week was phenomenal, he said. Well, it's the week before, but we appreciate it's knocked off a week of his life. It was that good. There you go. Happy to have a word, please. Yeah. Thank you for Stephen. Lots of comments here. Don't mess with the chat, he says, and lots more love for William Shatner in the live chat as well. Lord Thoth, very pleased to see you here on the show, Noel.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you all in the chat, enjoying it, I hope. If you aren't, we'll do better. Don't worry.
If you're not enjoying it, tough. We've got Ezra Goldstein in the live chat as well. And who else is there? We've got numerous ones from Gary's there, tapping away.
That's right.
Yeah, and we've got who else? The United States of Canada, says Neville. How is progress on that, or had I best not ask?
Yeah, I want to go there.
I will just speak very briefly. So as you know, Canada has a new prime minister. I won't mention the name because it will show up in the thing and Dan will get in trouble. So we do have a new PM. Those of you in Britain may know him as the man who tanked your economy. So he's actually worse. And the Canadians have proven how moronic
stupid
they are. Because, well, even though Polyev is a failure, He is still the least terrible of two options. But no, the Liberals are, under our new prime minister, are once again, not only are they leading in the polls, an election is probably being called tomorrow, and some polls are indicating it could be another Liberal majority. So, and the Western provinces, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and even Manitoba are now talking about leaving my country. And if the Liberals win, I think they will be leaving my country, Alberta, definitely. Yeah, yeah. How is everyone?
We did have a
So
lot of
it's
good
bye-bye
feedback.
Canada.
We did have a lot of good feedback about the politics roundtable from a few weeks ago, so it's possible we'll do that again, everybody, and maybe we'll grab some other people and get them involved too.
Yeah, we're just taking a chill out this week.
Yeah,
I did politics tonight on my stream, so yeah.
Somebody, okay, I want to change the subject. Dan, do something.
Ballerina, do ballerina, the John Wick.
We've got to say hello to the people in the live chat first, because they've been waiting for quite a long time, so including Trev Retro here, who says Lance Murdoch. I'm not sure who Lance Murdoch is, but hi, Lance, if you're watching us.
Was
his first name Lance? I don't know. Shelley Ingle says, I don't know why he looks so good in his 90s, so that's Shatner. I think he just looks after himself.
Good genes.
Eventually he looked after himself, didn't he? He's lived well, as William Shatner.
He's always looked after himself. He quit smoking in his 30s, and he's actually he's generally always lived very healthy. So yeah, you live healthy, you can be like Shatner.
He's a horseman. He rides horses all the time.
Yeah, it's Clint is the same. Like, that's why they last so long. And someone, who was it that said that generation, the World War II generation, they're all living to 90 and 100 odd years of age. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
So my nan is 102.
Wow.
Wow.
That's great.
Well done. Yeah, superb stuff.
Brilliant.
So
Over a century. Think about it. That's over 100 years, man.
I know.
The amount of stuff she would have seen, and the changes as well. Think about it, like the changes that woman would have saw throughout her lifetime. Wow.
We've gone from the literal Stone Age to an age of high technology. And it's happened in a relatively short period of time, to be honest with you.
The momentum of it has definitely sort of escalated, isn't it?
I think she's seen 7 monarchs.
I tell you what, once you invent toilet paper, society radically changes very quickly.
That's right.
Nicholas Horton has joined us here and subscribed to the channel. Thank you, Nicholas. We need all the help we can get here at the Spacebook. Thank you very much. And we've got people generally very, very relieved to hear that the death of Blu-ray has been greatly exaggerated, if only for the physical media insight alone. That has to be worth subscribing here for the YouTubes and Rumble, for the Spacebook Live here every Saturday from 8 p.m. with an assortment of pop culture enthusiasts here, letting rip on all things in TV and movies and streaming and all related matters. What else? Okay, so first of all, I thought it was high time we talked about this in particular. I finally watched some more of it, so yeah, let's have a look at it. Where are we? How about this?
National Exciting Video. Easy operation with wireless remote control. Wow, exciting! Multifunction display for positive control. Exciting! Your choice of silver or black.
Yes, national.
Yes, so looking to streaming first, and this one started on the 4th of March and represents somewhat of a reset, it seems, for Marvel Studios on TV. There's plenty of series that were made before Daredevil Born Again that haven't actually been premiered yet, but we're about 4 into this 9-episode first run of this show. There's a second season already. I think it's currently filming. That's going to be 9 episodes as well. And what they're going to do afterwards, heaven only knows. But it's with us after a lot of speculation, reuniting some of the original cast of the Netflix incarnation of Daredevil from Marvel Studios, but still led by Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio as Daredevil and the Kingpin. This is something I was looking forward to. This is something that I was putting aside my absolute apathy for all things Marvel that has really reached a head 2 or 3 years ago to take a look at this and say, okay, here they are. They're attempting to give people on the surface a little bit more of something that they originally liked whenever it wrapped up on Netflix, which has to be 5-6 years ago now. Z, do you watch Daredevil? Are you a Marvel person? Were you a Marvel person? And has this tempted you back the way that it has me?
Well, let me take you through it. Well, my relationship with Daredevil began way back in 1987. Visited a mate in Cardiff Uni, and he passed on 3 graphic novels to me during his study time, give me something to read. So he passed over Frank Miller's Ronin, Batman The Dark Knight Returns, and Daredevil Born Again.
Whoa!
And Daredevil really
awesome graphic novels.
I know.
Oh my God.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
He hooked me in.
Better than the next. It's fantastic. Dave Mazzucchelli doing the art on this. Oh God, this has one of the most chilling sequences of all time. Actually, a few of them, like where Ben Urich over here is getting his fingers broken in one scene, right? And he's there's so much great about this arc. It's nothing like whatsoever. The TV show Daredevil Born Again bears no relation, sadly.
They seem to have used the title. They seem to have just simply used the title, Ziz. It's what I'm picking up on. It's not an adaptation of this story at all.
No,
honestly, that's fair enough, isn't it? Though
I'm curious. Z, were you already a comics fan?
I was, yeah.
Before you read those graphic novels? Okay.
Daredevil really grabbed me because he was a street level hero. He didn't have excessive comic level godlike superpowers or a mech suit. But most of all, he had a strong moral compass. He was like Batman without all the billionaire trust fund backing, and kind of the underdog in the Marvel universe, just driven to do what was right because nobody else would, and an inherent need for justice. I bought every Daredevil comic from Forbidden Planet and Dave's Comics in Brighton, and I've been a fan ever since. I love the Ben Affleck movie. Don't judge me. It has its faults.
Me too.
No,
especially Jennifer Garner.
It's like the Stallone Just Dredd movie. I like that too.
Yeah, and the director's cut has got an extra 30 minutes, and it just makes it so much
that's
better.
What I saw.
A lot more violent and a lot more development with him and Elektra, even though I'm not a fan of Jennifer Garner.
I read all this stuff as well in the mid-90s, Z. I discovered the comics a few years earlier, but in all honesty, I didn't really appreciate them until I got that little bit older to really understand the depth of the story and the fact, because Amazing Spider-Man was my favourite, and because that was a bit more colourful, and but I always bought Daredevil. It always felt like the sort of the Certificate 18 version of the PG Spider-Man,
right? It was like the Batman of the Marvel Universe.
And so taking those characters to lead the Netflix version of the MCU at a sort of street level, that actually seemed like a really wise move at the time. And there was a lot of logic, I feel, when they assembled those shows. There was a lot of logic that you couldn't really argue with as they rolled them out. I think there was 3 seasons of Daredevil originally, wasn't there, led by Charlie Cox, and he's remained a fan favorite ever since. There was no clamoring for a recast of this character.
No, and he was perfect casting. I mean, see, what do you think? I thought he was.
Yeah, I think Charlie Cox was absolutely perfect. I find the Netflix series was just 3 seasons of pure art, and it had a damn good adaptation of Born Again in season 3, and set the quality bar pretty damn high.
Right. My only real quibble is the best season was season 1, but he wasn't in his Daredevil costume until right at the end. I loved Elektra, Elodie Young, in the 2nd season. She was perfect casting, right? Look, generally speaking, I like the Netflix series a lot. I thought their whole like street level thing went off the rails with Jessica Jones, which it was too far removed from any. Like, if you ever read the comic book, which was brilliant, it's called Alias. It was a real like street level when you had in the background Captain America and the whole Marvel universe going on.
Yeah.
It was very similar to that Marvel series, wasn't it? It was very, very street level. Again, a bit of a different animal, really. They kind of beat it into shape to fit into that universe.
But
there was a real demand for this character to come back to television with this actor. And
they wanted everything again because they nailed it, right? There's perfect casting on everything, even Foggy, right? Perfect casting. Karen Page, perfect casting. Everybody, Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, perfect casting. They got all the ingredients right.
So people were delighted as the details started to get announced about this Daredevil Born Again show, which is probably knocking on for about 2 years now, because they've spent a long time making this. And in fact, it's been pretty much acknowledged, isn't it, that they've remade the entire thing already once. But they did manage to get most of the cast back, and you can see they're striving for a similar aesthetic, but without many of the key creatives from the Netflix show. I don't think that many of them have survived. I think there's a couple of them involved here and there. And Brian Michael Bendis is involved. Brian Michael Bendis is involved too from the comics world, and yet this is rather a curious beast. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a different animal, but it's been years since I watched those Netflix shows.
Okay.
And so they've lived in my memory. I haven't gone back to them in the intervening years, Rabbi. So in a sense, this feels like a complete restart for me. There's been enough time in between that I can't be dogged too much by memories of a show that I loved. Because, in all honesty, I enjoyed the previous Daredevils, but I could take them or leave them.
Fine. So look, this is what I think it does wrong. There's two things. I only watched the first episode, and I wasn't interested in going any further.
I just want to explain to people. Okay, there's 4 of these that have been broadcast so far. There's 9 in the whole series, and so we're nearly halfway through. And in the first episode, they pick up the story, don't they, in a kind of similar place, in a recognizable place. That if you've got those latent memories of having watched the original incarnation, you think, what if people who don't know the comics lore think, okay, who was he again? Who were his associates? What was the setup?
It drops you
initial
right
episode.
Back into that world, right?
In that initial episode, you do feel that all the pieces are still where we left them on the board before they start to make really quite sweeping changes.
Right. Because okay, I think the problem with the Netflix or the original Netflix versions was it was too far removed from the comic book roots. It was a bit too serious, right? And I hated the recasting of Ben Urich. It just didn't work at all. Like the race swapping of him, just total failure. And also they killed him off in like 10 seconds. So the problem with this is they turned the dial on. It's much more comic booky, and when they're opening 20 minutes or 10 minutes where they reset everything, I found it to be too comic booky, right? It was like too much and even though it was a very violent fight scene and everything, it was just too, you could see everything coming, including like the major death. Yeah, like all this, exactly. You can see all this like beating your chest and everything coming a million miles away.
It felt a little phony, didn't it?
Yeah, and then it was reset, but it was reset in Disney just can't help itself. This is Disney-fied Daredevil. It really is. It just, and that's why I left it. I was like, I'm not interested in Disney-fied anything anymore. Right?
I agree.
It's really, really neutered to me.
Daredevil in Born Again is not the Daredevil I know and love. This is Disney garbage wrapped in the skin suit of its superior predecessor. Like the Rabbi, I gave up after episode 1.
So you see a massive gulf between the Netflix show, which you just described as visual art, to this is just total trash.
Absolutely. They brought back Foggy and Karen, presumably due to the social media outcry, as the actors weren't listed when they did the original casting announcements.
Oh, okay.
And then they fridged them and given us Disney-approved replacements. Major plot points didn't make sense. Vanessa is out of character. The Kingpin was supposed to be cleansed of his pain at the end of Echo, but now he's suddenly come around again. And
nobody watched Echo, though, did they? Nobody watched that show, so they feel justified. In all fairness, this is what I will stand up for them for. If you've made a creative error and no fucker watched it, I think to do a hard reset as quickly as possible, as quickly and as painlessly as possible, that's something that we often say. Like, for example, we've said remake the Star Wars sequels and forget they ever happened. Here they're kind of forgetting that they did that to Kingpin. So I'm completely on board with them doing that.
That's a fair point.
But aside from that, I think the stylistic choices.
Is it because it is Disney? It's on Disney Dawn. It's not on Netflix. Is that the problem? I thought Disney had. I tell me if I'm wrong, but did Disney have? They said that they were going to have a section where they could put all the R-rated shows and movies and stuff like this.
They've kind of got Hulu for that. I
But
think
then why didn't they? Then why didn't they use Hulu for Daredevil and try make another version like the Netflix version that fans actually wanted instead of giving them whatever you are saying this is?
I think there's so many prongs to their fork now. They can only link each project into so many before it starts to look like a bit of a mess. Here, I think they've gone to lengths to make sure on the surface things look like business as usual. But the fans, the people who love the original show, are going to pick up on those differences. It sounds like in the way that you have. See, this is something that you reacted, that you just spat out instantly by the sound of it, just like the rabbi did.
It is. I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to come back to it or not. It all depends on subsequent episodes and how they're reported back by all the review channels. But I won't be giving Disney any more of my precious time unless I hear good things about this. Now, I understand there's a great scene in episode 4.
Good, you would have heard it by now.
There's a good scene in episode 4 between Daredevil and the Punisher.
Yes.
But one scene alone is not enough to bring me back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
You're watching this too, Gary. Were you a fan? Were you a fan of the Netflix one too?
I watched season 1. That's when after that I kind of tuned out of all the rest of the street level stuff like Iron Fist and Luke Cage and 2 and 3. But I will say on this one, the biggest problem for me up to the end of the 4th episode is that it's just cumulatively it's just so slow. It's like nothing is really happening.
The Netflix show had that problem as well.
I think that as Z just said, I mean, in the 4th, there's some like sparks of life in the 4th episode. There's the scene between Matt and the Punisher is a good one, and Charlie Cox can do that well. I think if they leaned into, I do not care anything about what's going on with the Kingpin. It's like I don't care about him in therapy. I don't care about him trying to be the mayor. That's just the stuff
with him and the police. The stuff with him. The stuff with him and the police commissioner. I think there's a certain amount of intrigue there because you can see the Kingpin resisting his instincts and the person he used to be. I feel there's drama there, but putting him in therapy with his wife, I just don't know why I'm supposed to care about that.
They haven't really followed up that much. It kind of devolves to where he's just having trouble now that he's being thrown into the bureaucracy of being mayor. You know, it shows him how he's kind of flinching under having to deal with all the bureaucracy of the mayor. But it's like, you know, like, so what? But the thing about with Matt is I think if they leaned into you know, the character's grief and rage and disillusionment after everything that happened to Foggy, I think there might be something there, but it seems like it's two different shows. It's like Matt's doing his own thing, and that's kind of like a Law and Order thing, like Case of the Week. And then it cuts over to the Kingpin, who's not involved with Matt, who's trying to figure out, you know, how to be mayor. And it's kind of like a schizophrenic show with occasional flashes of, oh, well, that one scene was good. Like Z said, you know, a single scene does not a quality series make. Although, like in The Punisher, that single scene was good. But like I said, 4 hours now investment, and there's just not a lot that's happened.
It sounds like an average streaming show to me, frankly.
I had that problem with all of the. In all honesty, I enjoyed most of them to some extent or another, all the original Marvel Netflix shows. But I had that exact same problem that at least 2 or 3 episodes of it was treading water, and I'm sensing a similar kind of problem here to some extent. And I agree that to me, particularly episode 1, it did feel like 2 different shows that 2 different productions I was watching at the same time. The scenes where they were fighting on rooftops and things like that, you think, well, they looked so unrealistic. And you think, well, how can this look so phony when literally most countries in the world, particularly where they're filming this in New York, it's full of actual real rooftops. So why does all this look so fucking fake? They could go to any rooftop anywhere and just film there.
Yeah.
It just didn't convince me.
I don't know how they Disneyfy rooftops, but they managed to do it. I have no idea. It's so freaking bizarre. Yeah, it's
and him swinging around in that scene was just like too Spider-Man-ish for me.
Exactly, it was too comic booky. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, he's got his radar sense. He's obviously got enhanced agility and strength, not to a great level. Essentially, he's just a dude.
Listen,
they've
given to every streaming show should be this. Every episode needs to have a beginning, middle, and end. Right? You got to, every episode has a beginning, middle, and end, everything's better. No episode they're all middle. Right? It's all continuing.
Yeah.
It's like trudging through this boring bloody story.
Every
episode needs has to have a shape.
Yeah.
That's why Silo was good. Silo, every episode has a beginning, middle, and end.
It
right?
doesn't help in this instance, just like with Andor, and it seems like with the Disney and Bad Wolf Doctor Who thing, what they've done with all of these shows is commission 16 to 18 episodes, cut them into 2 and deliver them in halves. And so you think, well, that's why a lot of this stuff, I think, and I know a lot of people liked Andor, and I'm going to go back to that and give it another go. But for me, trying to watch it felt like a trudge, and it felt a bit shapeless and lifeless. I think that the Doctor Who's kind of had a similar problem, and I do get the impression. I'm trying not to hold it to an unreasonable. I'm trying not. No, it isn't. No, it's not unreasonable actually. If you label something as beans, and you open it up and there's not beans inside, then that's on them, not on me. Yeah. To label this as Daredevil Born Again and to not to do the Born Again story is weird, but it's clearly Born Again in name only. Looking at it at its own worth, I'm still at its own worth now, 4 episodes in, not picking up on any kind of natural arc or flow or shape to the story at all. I'm not saying that it hasn't got any merit, but I think it's the same problem over and over again, and these things keep getting recommissioned.
Well, I kind of wonder whether it's going to take until episode 16 for Matt to try to decide to be Daredevil again, and then in the last 2 episodes he'll confront the King.
Because he hasn't put that suit back on.
Yeah, no.
No, again, I'm so glad I didn't go any further. By the way, I worked out the perfect way to watch Andor, right? So it's not insanely boring. Watch the first episode, then skip to when they actually do the heist, and from then onwards, it's at a decent pace. If you skip those 5 episodes when they're not doing anything, it's much better.
Have you been watching any of this, Noel? Any of the Daredevil show, and did you watch the original one?
Nope. To be quite honest with you, Daredevil's not my thing. I don't read comics either. But I do find it fascinating anytime Disney get their hands on something. They never seem to be able to just follow the source material. If there's literally a thing called Daredevil Born whatever it is, Born whatever the heck,
Born Again,
they should stick Born Again, they should stick to the actual graphic novel or comic or whatever it is, instead of trying to do their own little thing with it. But you see, I didn't grow. Me personally, did Marvel. I didn't really get into Marvel or anything until the movies came along. I'm not a comic book fan. I can actually admit that. I just never really had, I suppose, the patience. I'm not one for I used to read a lot of books, but comics is a different story for me.
Good television when the television that appeals to you when you see it, don't you? And this clearly hasn't appealed to you in any way.
No, I've seen the trailer. I have to say, I think everybody was kind of by the trailer, by the way you are talking about it now. But the trailer looked pretty impressive to me, and I was like, will I give it a go? And Cheryl's a fan of the original Netflix series, so I was thinking about it, but then I heard everybody talk about it, and it just doesn't seem to have panned out the way people were hoping. But I'll say this, it seems like slowly but surely Disney are gonna learn. I mean, Snow White apparently is gonna flop hard, so
I don't think they're ever gonna learn. I just don't think they're ever.
They'll have no choice, though, Rabbi. They'll have no choice. They'll run out of money eventually. Like
You
it's
know
in,
what, look,
it
the
will happen.
shareholders just turned down an anti-woke takeover, right? And they're like, no, we want to keep to the woke. There's nothing we can do about it.
I mean, for my money, I've watched now 3 of these. I've seen the first 3 episodes, and I thought the first episode was impressive in places and desperately disappointing in others.
Right.
It was considerably better than anything that I haven't watched a Marvel show for a couple of years. I kept watching like 2 episodes of them and needing to bail. Finding myself, stuff like She-Hulk, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, all these shows. I quite enjoyed Moon Knight. Quite enjoyed it, but that had the same. It still felt like a trudge, even though it was interesting. It still felt like a trudge. Everything else, it was a real chore to get so much as 2 episodes into. And with this, with the first one, again, I noticed that it was incongruent. You couldn't help but notice that there were clearly 2 productions going on at the same time.
Yes,
that being said, I felt that Charlie Cox still being in this counts for a lot. Same with Vincent D'Onofrio to a lesser extent, but I think that Charlie Cox is actually better in this role than he was initially. I think he's grown into the part in a way that older actors do tend to. So I think that is what convinced me to go back to it. So I didn't watch episode 2 until a good week, maybe even 2 weeks after I saw the first one. I sort of kind of put it off, and I found the second episode to be far, far better, because there are things that go on. Yeah, I mean, brushing aside Foggy and Karen Page there so readily in the first episode, it's very transparent as to why they're doing it. They're immediately substituted with this sort of smart talking, sort of mega capable black woman who's, at least she's not fat. They're usually fat as well. She's not fat, but she's quite well played by this woman. And I've seen that actress in other things, and she's fine. And the character's actually not annoying, which is another plus point. But it's still a mega cynical thing to do. By the time I came back to episode 2, and I'd kind of washed my mouth a little clean of that, and looking at it at its own terms, I actually think this show's pretty decent on its own terms. Again, I quite enjoyed the original one. I don't know what reactions have been like to this, but in my view, whilst this doesn't deliver on everything that it could have been, the way that the show is developing and the story of the White Tiger, as I've just seen played out in a heavy sort of courtroom episode, I think there is something to this. I think it does have something to offer. I think it is a story that's being told well. I think some of the acting has been absolutely outstanding, and there's enough in there to keep my attention for the remainder of this season. But
what sounds like the problem that this version has, though, is that it has the previous Netflix version, which a lot of people seem to admire quite a lot.
I see why people really loved that. I enjoyed it, but I've never gone back to it, and I've not really given it much of a thought since. So I don't have the problems with it that other people do. But the stuff with Karen Page and what's his name, and Foggy is so clumsy. It's hard to forgive something like that. But if you can manage to push that aside, I would offer that this is actually quite a decent comic book sort of series with some great sequences, some good acting. I think the drama is generally pretty decent, and it's trying. I don't think it's got a lot of the problems that the earlier Marvel shows that I bailed on have. There is something that's compelling me to see more of this. But what I think
it has grabbed you then. It's taken a while, but it has grabbed you.
Yeah, it took till episode 3 to actually properly get a hold on me. And as I say, there's only 9. I suppose it's a third of the way
it was
through.
4. 4, I started kind of getting into it. I thought, okay, was more good stuff.
It's merited. Something's working.
I give a show 1 episode. You have 1 episode to get me to watch the second episode.
I usually give something to 2, 3 at an absolute push. That's what I bailed on Andor after 3 because it just didn't grab me. I don't give a show any less than 2.
In the chat, so you had the guide of watching Andor. I would still say skip everything from 1 till whenever they do the heist. Right, I like the entirety of those episodes seem to be like cutscenes from DVDs. Right, they're all extraneous. I didn't care about any of them.
I think a lot of new shows though today is talking about, you know, it takes them longer to capture Rabbi. It's one episode and he's out. But I think with modern shows nowadays, the way they're
reasonable when there's so
which
many
is perfectly reasonable. But I think what shows do now is that a lot of them are slow burners. A lot of them you have to watch the 2-3 episodes before you know whether you're onto a good thing or not nowadays. Whereas before,
you convince yourself you are because you put 3 hours into it. Right, you never, like if you're on a good thing, and that thing when you watch something good, you watch it. You don't play with your phone, right?
After the cliff, well, was it a cliffhanger? After the ending to episode 3, in all sincerity, I couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. It really shocked me, and I wouldn't say it was clever. It's nothing special, but I wasn't expecting
it. Shocked you,
yeah.
Because the whole episode,
it's spoilers,
yeah, because the whole episode was so good. And I don't really do courtroom dramas. You know, I don't do procedurals, and I've never been one for courtroom drama.
Yeah.
So it takes, you know, and those what's it like, The Firm and all those kind of movies have never really done anything for me. But this held my attention. It was really good, episode 3. So I couldn't wait to see what happened next. So this has got.
I would rather watch Trial of a Time Lord.
This has got my attention back for the time being. But the problem I think, and I was trying to work out why I still feel that this isn't right. I think it comes down to a simple misunderstanding still at Marvel Studios, and not understanding what they've got and how it would be most effectively used. I think when you were talking earlier on, Z, about those graphic novels that you were loaned back in the 80s, those sort of finite, those bursts of creativity, of action, and of story. I think that Daredevil actually kind of, perhaps it was right 10 years ago when they were still rolling out the MCU to have it on Netflix. I think that made a certain sort of sense.
I really did think the Defenders series kind of worked, with the exception of Iron Fist. I really loved Luke Cage. I thought season 1 of Jessica Jones was brilliant. Season 2, not so much. And the Defenders was okay. Put a nice little bow on it. But now they've undone the bow and it's all rotten inside. And
the mistake that they've made with this, and the mistake they continue to make, is not realizing what they've got and where to put it. You see, returning Charlie Cox to this role was absolutely the right thing to do. And maybe the whole 18 episodes will have been worth watching by the time it actually happens. But the feeling I'm getting is that actually having this still on TV could be actually holding it back. There's a story in this absolutely worth telling, something compelling, something that's not being done anywhere else by Marvel Studios on the big screen. So I don't understand why this is an 18-episode sprawling TV show when it would probably make a really good 2-hour movie that would totally stand out from the crowd of anything else that Marvel Studios are doing. Charlie Cox, he's led movies before. He starred us 20 years ago. He is a movie star, and they could put this triple the budget or whatever, quadruple the budget, get it a lot leaner, more fit for purpose, put some proper budget in, and a director with real vision. And I think they'd probably have a hit movie with this, and it would still cost them a fraction of whatever they're paying for this doomsday shit that they're gonna make. Whereas in the cinema, I know that they've got this coming out very soon. They've got Thunderbolts coming out. Now, to me, Thunderbolts as a premise is fine, but to me, that's a TV show. So they're sticking stuff that should be on the TV. In cinemas.
Exactly right. Dan, the answer to your question is this. It's because the people at Disney are what we call fuckwits. They're complete. They are fuckwits about everything. Whatever they do, they fuck up. If you want to know what the right answer is, you ask a Disney executive and then do the exact opposite. That's right. They are all fucking morons, right?
And
none of them can have a good idea.
I'm still not going to go and. Rabbi, I'm still not going to go and see any of these Marvel series and none of the other shows that they've got coming out, like Ironheart. I'm not going to watch any of those fucking things.
No, I would watch like.
See, I'd watch a Daredevil movie because I watched the Ben Affleck one like everybody did. If they made it a movie, I would watch it. I have no interest in watching from a personal point of view because I'm the non-comic geek here. I don't want to see a TV show based off a comic character. I'd rather see a movie that's only that I only have to give 2.5, 3 hours of me time to, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you're right about Thunderbolts.
It's the natural evolution of this, because you wouldn't have, for example, someone such as Z who really holds that original series quite highly. It would represent an evolution for you too, wouldn't it, Z? And it would mean, because if they were giving that a movie to somebody, they'd give it to, you'd think, a quality director, somebody who could, they can't exactly make it look like art, because something like this has got to have a broad appeal.
Well, no,
but at least it would be different. At least it wouldn't feel like a cheaper, inferior version of something that you loved, and it wouldn't be the half measure that has distanced Rabbi completely, and that took a while to pull in Gary and myself.
But it's not like Marvel haven't pulled things out of the bag before. They've used D to Z list heroes in Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was a tremendous success. This might do the same thing. I doubt it, seeing as half the cast members are super soldiers, whereas the Guardians all had their own unique abilities and power sets.
Oh, the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing for me about Daryl that I keep kind of going back to, Dan, is you said, well, okay, at this point we're basically halfway through the first season, and the thing for me is I still don't really have a firm idea about what the overarching story is. Like the first 3 episodes were kind of like a mini story with the White Tiger. The 4th episode, there's a new villain in, which I don't recognize, but I think probably is just a comic book villain that I'm not familiar with. And I'm thinking maybe if they're doing like a running series of like 3 episode kind of like mini arcs to kind of carry this through 18 episodes, maybe that's their plan. But I just still don't have an idea yet about what this is all building to. I can guess eventually it's going to be the Daredevil versus the Kingpin again, but I mean, that's easy to guess. But other than that, I just have no idea kind of what the show's about.
Is the whole Kingpin thing a riff on Trump or not? I assumed it was. That's what
No, I think it was. I think as it was originally filmed and conceived, that may have been there, because in episode 1 you get flashes of, for example, there's a poster for Fisk's campaign to be mayor, and it's only in a couple of scenes in the background. And for some reason they've got a poster of him, like a campaign poster, and the name Fisk is in big orange letters. And there's no orange anywhere else in the production, just on that poster. And I believe that is the residue of an initial concept that was there whenever this was originally conceived, filmed, and the production design, that they've abandoned or that's been lost in the various edits and the pickups and all that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I think that it was there originally, and they've given their heads a wobble, as we say in Britain, and start to focus on story, because the focus is on story, it is on characters. I think there is wokeism in that first episode. There are smatterings of absolute ideological decisions.
I mean,
that's not
so
been the
weird.
case. But that's not been the case. But that's not been the case in the subsequent episodes at all. It's been all on story.
Yeah, that's the other thing that turned me off. You got rid of the whole Daredevil crew, and then you got like he's with the Stunning and Brave black lawyer. I'm like, a black female lawyer.
And she's great. It's a perfect.
I know, but you just took a shit on Daredevil to put your own woke fuck shit in it. I'm not like, it might come around and give me a hand job. I'm not interested.
So if they'd have, the thing is, Rabbi, the thing is, it's like I said earlier on about it being a leaner thing. If this was a Daredevil movie that picked up 5 years after the TV show at Netflix had ended, where Matt Murdock is now a partner in a completely different firm. Karen Page has moved, is living somewhere else. Foggy's working somewhere else. He's got new colleagues, a slightly new setup. His life is different. Everybody has a slightly different life 5-7 years later. Nobody would have blinked an eye. But
No.
because
you want to know something? The tragedy is in the graphic novel, like when you get to episode 2 or 3, Foggy has moved on to a different firm. They've all got new lives, right? That's what that whole thing is about, them having new. Although Karen Page, when she starts off, she's a junkie porn star in Mexico, right? Which I think they should have stuck to the comic on that one.
I will say though that the scene in, and not really a spoiler, is that the scene in episode 4 where Matt meets the Punisher again, and it's a long scene, 7-8 minute scene. For me, it was the best scene so far in the series.
But here's a question, Gary: is it a series of good scenes, or is there there actual meat on the bone? Like,
yeah,
you know,
I think it comes down. No, you're exactly right, Noel. I think it comes down to deciding for yourself, like, is that enough? Is like seeing an occasional great scene worth spending the time? But no, you're absolutely right. That's kind of what you have to kind of decide.
I don't know. I just think personally, a movie would have worked
to premiere.
I think a movie would have been better choice.
It absolutely would have done. I think it's a shame that they didn't do that. Stephen Braddock says the Kingpin is supposed to be huge, but here he just isn't like the comic character. Well, the actor has clearly lost quite a bit of weight.
And that was a big mistake. They should have put him in a fat suit. I am sorry. He lost a lot of gravitas.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know. Again, I'm not going to have a go at anybody for putting their health first. I think he's still the right actor in that role.
Yeah,
but because
put him in a fat suit.
they may as well have found another giant actor. Because I do agree. I think I don't know. He also looks considerably older. He's aged a lot more than Charlie Cox has because he's an older actor. So I think it's okay. I think it's
he's
fine.
a great actor though. I know he's a great actor though. So they have cast well there.
I don't find him threatening. Like the old Kingpin, I thought would kill me. This one, I'm like, what are you going to do?
I mean, but wouldn't a comics realistic Kingpin be like 8 feet tall? I mean, he always seems like that.
They're all like, not
in the
like
comics.
It's about
Boomer Doug has joined us in the live. Boomer Doug has joined us in the live chat, and he says, "I think Daredevil Born Again is a decent successor to Daredevil. Obviously, it's been watered down, but nowhere near as bad as you say." No, I agree with you, Doug. I don't think this is a disaster. But
I don't think anybody said it's bad.
Series, you're looking for more maturity. Why water it down at all?
Exactly. That's the whole point. And this is what I'm saying: is the Disney brand the issue here? Because they've got Disney slapped all over it. Like when they were able to make it and it was made on Netflix, obviously they could make the Daredevil that they wanted to make, whereas Disney is kind of restricted because the Disney have certain moral codes, as they say, and all of this. I know we're laughing. But, they have certain ways of doing things and they allow certain things in their shows and they don't allow certain things. So then, you're not getting the true...
You don't see much about Matt's Catholic upbringing in the series so far.
Right, you did in season 3. Right. You had his mother, who's a nun. That was all.
And rather than holding, he used to hold a St. Christopher, didn't he? Or was it rosary beads? He used to always in this. He's holding a broken off horn off his Daredevil helmet.
They didn't have a problem showcasing Kamala Khan's Muslim heritage in Ms. Marvel.
That's different. That's different when it's Christianity.
I wasn't stupid enough to watch that.
Well, Christianity in Hollywood is mocked quite a lot.
Yeah.
Even
if all the people in Hollywood are godless Satanists who fucking eat children. I know. Maybe they do.
Even RTD and Stephen Moffat have been, anti-Christian in certain episodes, but we won't get into that.
Totally. I think Boom is a real anti-Christian episode.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
One of the reasons
I think Ballstrick spoke about the Boom, actually.
About the what?
The Doctor Who episode, Boom. Didn't you do a whole video on that about the anti-Christianity that was on that episode?
No, I just made fun of Dr. Nutty and his boom boom.
All right.
Daredevil Born Again is continuing for the next 4. We're going to have to move on, guys. But Daredevil Born Again, there's another 5 episodes of that yet to premiere. A whole second season that they're making right now. Another 9 episodes, probably for, I'd say, probably expect that to drop in around 18 months. They have very long periods of post-production.
Just very quickly, Dan, do you think that Marvel is trying to make a conscious effort to improve their shows?
On the strength of this, yes. And I can see why they've put it out relatively quickly.
Right.
No, they're definitely trying to turn the boat. Right.
But unfortunately, the things that we know that they've got coming are going to be a massive disaster. So it's like the Star Trek thing where they put on Picard season 3, which everybody loved. You think Star Trek is saved, and then they drop Star Trek Discovery season 5, the Section 31 TV movie, and just dross after dross after dross.
I think Thunderbolts
and eventually, but eventually, the project that people were charmed by, that made people feel like it was going to be okay again, that starts to become almost like a mirage. You sort of, it was there, and I know it was there because I saw it, and you've tried to touch it, and then it's gone. And that'll be what this Daredevil show is like by the time people have got through watching the Thunderbolts. So
it's like one step forward and then 3 steps backwards.
I know.
They should scrap all that stuff.
I think Thunderbolts has a chance to be a successful movie. I think the normie will just find it a fun movie and enjoy it, and I think it might do well.
A bit like Guardians of the Galaxy.
The only way they can make good on this, and or at least, okay, if this isn't pleasing everybody, the only way they can look on this as a positive step forward that they don't go back from is by Batgirling everything else. Make it all disappear. And if you don't put another show on for another year, until the second half of this, then so be it. But they can't follow this with absolute dross and expect to get anywhere. I think it's still quite a. I think the picture is still looking pretty bad for Marvel Studios at Disney Plus, and little shows like this that are just halfway or even 3/4 to being what they could be, are never going to be anywhere near good enough.
Because they're surrounded by all the shite that they're going to be bringing out. See, that's the problem, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah.
Like, even if they do, it was like with The Mandalorian season 1, brought that out, everybody was like, wow, Disney are actually doing something decent here. And then it went all, the wheels fell off.
Now, if you think that is a bit of a gamble for them, there is something else that's coming too. And if you can't say, I mean, I suppose the Daredevil is a kind of an adult comic book, or certainly a sort of 15, certificate 18, or whatever. Another brand that Disney are about to go near for television has absolutely always been for adults.
They're unstoppable, but we're gonna stop them anyway. Send in the Marines. We're the Space Marines. Drake, Ripley, 8-Bone, Bishop, and I'm Hicks, armed with the latest high-tech heavy metal.
Look out, Hicks! The Queen's gonna crown ya! My bug rocker's on a roll! Bull alien attacking! Eat torch, bug brain!
Alien invasion problem? Send in the Marines!
Aliens! Send in the Marines!
Space Marines! Aliens!
That's just wrong.
That genuinely caused me pain.
That's just wrong.
That was deadly, that ad, man. That alien ad is deadly.
The xenomorphs are sort of back in a pretty big way, aren't they? In a way that they haven't been for a number of years. Just last year, we had the Alien Romulus film, a modestly budgeted movie that did really quite well. You know, so much so that there's a sequel to that on the way. It seems, so. On one instance, Alien in the cinema, which may not be to everybody's taste, admittedly, seems to be sort of saved. Is it wise, therefore, to be bringing it to TV at almost exactly the same period of time as part of this sort of package deal that they've got with Hulu? So we've got some footage at last from the Alien Earth series from FX stroke Hulu. I'm never quite sure who's responsible for this. There's so many brands all over it. That's what I'm saying about the Daredevil show. How you're going to overcomplicate these things. So let's have a look at this teaser trailer here and see for ourselves. So this is Alien Earth. A whole series coming this summer. We've got no actual date. All they've said so far is this summer. That's the first footage that we've got. I think that looks specially shot rather than being actual footage from the show. But we do have a series of images and a synopsis too, which says when a mysterious space vessel crash lands on Earth, a young woman and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a fateful discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat in FX's highly anticipated TV series Alien Earth.
And you haven't mentioned the most important thing. Most important thing is the creative force behind it, which is no. Well,
I was about to. That's at the very end of this synopsis from creator Noah Hawley. So where you tell people, Rabbi, where may they have seen the name Noah Hawley before?
Okay, Noah Hawley, generally speaking, has an excellent resume. Most probably you knew him from Legion, the Dan, what's the guy? The Dan Stevens show, the X-Men show, which was brilliant. He also did Fargo. Yeah, each different season is its own thing. I really, they're all very interesting, well written things. He did one version of Star Trek that wasn't made, which I always wanted to see what it was.
Did he?
Everything he does is quite good.
Yeah, I can't remember that at all. I loved Legion. I thought it was a great show.
Legion was great.
How long was that little teaser that you just played there? Just for
40 seconds.
Right, in that 40 seconds, right? I've watched Romulus, by the way. I'm a huge Alien fan. I love the first two movies. Okay, we can debate and argue about the rest that have came since. I was a fan of it. Yeah, they are. I was a fan of Alien versus Predator. I'm not going to lie. The director's extended cut is deadly. Gives you an extended, that 40 seconds there, right? The point of view from the alien where it's gone through the ship, never seen that like it. Now, I haven't been really excited about anything that they've done with the xenomorph over the last few years. This is the first time I'm genuinely actually excited. That 40 seconds is that actually blow me away. I've never seen that from that shot from the alien point of view running through that ship is just seriously, that's just at the grab of me right now. I hope. Look, you asked the question: should they be doing it when they're doing the movies? Listen, if this show ends up being good, forget about the movies because the movies are going to be shit if they're still written by Ridley Scott. So, I would prefer a TV show that's done well, that has the same kind of atmosphere as the first two Alien movies. If it can recapture that, then we've got something special here. And FX, Hulu kind of gives me a bit of hope as well that it's on them because they do pretty good, good shows. They do. They have a good track record.
The Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson thing.
Yeah, tell you, that's fantastic. By the way, no, can I really recommend anybody who didn't like Alien 3, you got to find the extended cut.
Yeah, it's on all the Blu-ray sets.
Yeah, and that's up there with 1 and 2 in my mind.
We have
the Paul McGann subplot.
No, it proves
watchable.
Yeah, it improves the movie, but I don't think I've seen the extended cut. But Dave Fincher's version, look, we can debate all we want. The studio interfered with that. It wasn't the movie he wanted.
The studio's interfered with practically all of these films to one degree or another.
Yeah, Resurrection.
I think James Cameron probably came off better than anybody else, but everybody else had their films messed with. With this Alien TV show, this is the one that's going to fulfill, I suppose, the most long-held wish of Alien fans, in that the aliens are going to be on Earth, and it looks played straight as well. This looks like a reach for it to be real hard sci-fi mixed with horror. It'd be a difficult balance to strike.
Can I say what my dream thing though for this? What would happen? My dream thing for this is though, right? For this show, for me, to top it all off, to make it to connect with the movies, you've got to somehow find a way of bringing Ripley back, even if it's for a couple of episodes or whatever. But try bring Ripley back. I think that would be the crown and glory.
It would have to
I've wanted Ripley back. For me personally, right, the Ripley story is unfinished. I wanted Ripley to go back to Earth and fight the xenomorph on Earth. That was always my wish, where the Alien franchise actually went. And we do know that Neil Blomkamp, or whatever his name is, he wanted to do that, and Ridley Scott was like, "No, I'm doing Prometheus. Fuck you."
That was a good 10-12 years ago.
Honestly, I'm glad they did Prometheus. What I wanted from the Alien franchise is the third Prometheus movie, right?
Me too. Chris, what's your view of this?
Well, and also I'm assuming, Noel, you want Sigourney Weaver back?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver herself. Yeah.
Well, here's my view.
It could work.
It's give me something new. I got to be honest. I'm just sick to death of remakes and reboots. I haven't even seen Romulus yet. Had this been 10 years ago, I would have been yes. But it doesn't really matter what it is, unless it's like a Star Trek Kirk series. If it's especially a Disney-owned reboot of an existing property, I refuse to get Disney Plus, so I won't be watching it anyway. But this one, it's like, no, just give me something new, please. Enough with the reboots, enough with the reimagining. Like, just give us something else. It's
Do you think they've simply waited too late to?
Yes.
Not revive Alien as such, but to expand Alien in this way.
They had an opportunity in 2012 with Prometheus. Everybody, including myself, was excited to see that. This is when they should have done that, not in TV series form. That's another thing that I'm sick of, movie franchises being turned into TV series. This should have been in movie form, and this should have been the film we got in 2012, not the one that we're getting 13 years later in 2025.
These are images that we've got on screen now from a clips package that's been put together to showcase all of Hulu content for the rest of 2025. So there's not much out there at all. There's just that teaser and a few.
But what if it's good? I just want to ask Chris though. But what if it's good? Are you just simply saying that there's too much time gone past now, and that even if it is good, there won't be interest for it, or are you just like? It's the same.
For me, Noel, I am completely burned out on remakes and reboots because 99% of them have been terrible. I don't really see myself allocating any time to watching any more rebooted franchise or any of the things that Disney inherited when they bought Fox. Even like I didn't say much during Daredevil, but I did make an attempt to watch it. I was bored out of my mind, and I think it was during that where I made the decision, unless something has been completed and people whose opinion I trust say it isn't crap, that's when I will watch. In terms of watching something like this week after week, it's not going to happen. Say if Noel comes and says this is the best thing ever, I might wait for it to be finished and maybe do a marathon. Although the Disney Plus thing would be an issue. But what I want something new. Like the reboots have gotten old. They've been going on for a decade now, and it's one of the biggest problems in Hollywood is everything is a reboot, everything is a reimagining, everything is a sequel. give me something new. When I see something like this come out now, it's like
the next trailer we've got coming up is another sort of expansion of a franchise as well.
Oh,
They're very proud of the fact that they've got Timothy Olyphant in this Alien show. He's the only real recognizable name. Essie Davis is in there as well, but I'm never quite sure who that is. I just know I know the name. The lead, the young female leading it, is called Sydney Chandler, who's appeared in a film called Don't Worry Darling, which I think was a sort of a chase movie from a year or two ago. And I'm fine with that. These films have tended to be led by women. That's okay. And I like Oliphant as well, but he's a lot like Pedro Pascal. He seems to be in everything at the moment.
Yeah, he was great in the fourth Die Hard movie.
Well, unlike Pedro Pascal, he actually has talent, and he isn't grading every second he's on screen.
Oh, Pedro Pascal! I loved him in Game of Thrones. That's a long time ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't like Romulus. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I'm actually like what you're saying. I have to say that 40 seconds did spark something in me. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the camera angle that they used. Yeah. But I did watch this movie, and I have to say, to me, it was a kind of a poor version of Alien, the first movie. They tried to recapture the first movie. Now, there was impressive scenes in it, okay, because it's an Alien movie. You're gonna have impressive scenes. But do you know what my biggest take, Dan? I was bored. I was actually bored, and I'm not bored, and I wasn't bored watching Alien. And you know that movie, the opening of that movie, it takes ages to come in. You don't get bored watching Ridley Scott's first movie. You don't get bored.
Romulus did hold my attention, Noel, but I'm not gonna criticize anybody for not feeling that way, because at the end of the day, I'm well aware, even though it did hold my attention, there was also nothing new in it at all. So I think if you're
do you know what I'll say? Even though I think Prometheus is a mess of a movie, visually it's
that's an understatement.
But I preferred Prometheus over this, I've got to be honest.
I really like Prometheus.
Yeah, as well. I'm a big fan.
I have a soft spot, as I said, I have a soft spot for Prometheus, but this movie, I just couldn't get into it, Dan. And I understand, I get it, you saying it did hold your attention, but for me, it just didn't have the same impact as Alien had on me when I was a kid or watching Aliens. I mean, the first time I seen Alien, and the first that scene of the xenomorph coming out of his John Hurt's chest will forever live in my memory as one of the greatest scenes in that franchise. It absolutely is up there. Nothing in this, as you said, there was nothing new in this, and I think that's what Chris is trying to say, and I kind of do agree with him a little bit. We are getting bogged down with doing the same thing with the xenomorph, and when they have tried something clever with it, like they did with Prometheus and they did in Covenant, it didn't resonate. It just didn't do. I didn't have the desired effect that it should have had. It's just, I think it is getting stale. Maybe Chris is right. Maybe it is stale.
The problem is this: that Romulus was content, and I think it was actually quite good content. But it was content. It wasn't a movie.
For me, Romulus is. Yeah, I could tell you, I haven't seen it. I don't own it. It's one of those that whenever they do Amazon Prime days, that's when I pick up recent releases that I'm not that excited about, usually on Blu-ray rather than 4K. This would be one of those where I'd pick up on Amazon Prime Day for like $8, and it will sit on my shelf for 5 years, and one day I'll be really bored and watch.
It's fine.
Yes, I think you're right.
It's kind of base level. It's a monster movie set in space with a bunch of sort of people, younger people who barely know one another. It's barely sort of by number stuff. It's quite well made. It's got, in my view, it's got some nice jump scares and things like that. And I think if it's the first time you've seen anything, you've seen an Alien movie, or you haven't seen a film like this in a long time, you're probably going to have a lot of fun with it. But when you're steeped in pop culture, in sci-fi and fantasy, it's going to be a far harder sell. And although the guy who made it clearly has quite a distinctive style. I thought it was directed. I wouldn't say I wouldn't describe it as art by any stretch, but it had attitude. It had a look about it which was different to the other movies. So I think that's fine. But what interests me about this TV show, and what for me is the saving grace of them of justifying taking it to television, is having that creative behind it, who, generally speaking, his stuff, he's kind of a Marmite showrunner and writer, but at least you know you're going to get something that's pretty distinctive, and that will be, I would imagine, fairly uncompromising as well, being partnered with Hulu in the same way that Stephen Knight's 1,000 Blows has just been, in the same way that Pam and Tommy was. So I think there's more about Alien Earth to be optimistic about than there certainly was for Alien Romulus, which, you know, I was perfectly prepared for the prospect that I was going to hate this movie. I wouldn't rave about it, but I didn't hate it. I'm far more excited about this TV show on principle. Where are you with it, Z? Is it something that you'll be watching?
Well, I watched the teaser and it looked quite intriguing, but then so did Alien Romulus. And look how that...
As I said, though, that Alien Romulus, it turned out to be exactly what it looked like. A monster movie set in space on a big spaceship, lots of running and panting and sweat.
Yeah, but
do you know the way? Do you know? This is the way I look at it. Alien Romulus is for today's generation, whereas Alien and Aliens, they're alien movies. I will. You had made a point there. There's a difference between the two of them. There's clear differences. You've explained that. He has his way at doing things as well. Look, the movie visually was great. I mean, I did think he successfully, in some parts, recaptured the first movie. The thing is, though, I was just bored when the characters died, and this is the big difference, right? In Alien, when the characters died, right, John Hurt's character dies, I was shocked and, you know, sad. When these characters died, I didn't give a shit. I was actually delighted he died. I was hoping the alien would just wipe them all out in like 5 minutes.
It was kind of like watching a Friday the 13th movie, wasn't it, Noel? Like Friday the 13th Part 6 or something, where you hate them all and you think, okay, well, I want her to go first, then her, then her. Yeah. It was a little bit like there were a couple of characters that I did like in it, in all seriousness, but largely it was that kind of party game kind of thing. You get your bingo card out. It's going to be the big.
And I think that's another thing as well. Casting. I mean, look, they're never going to replicate the casting of the original movies. No way. But I think the casting is poor. And I don't think the lead was strong. And that's the problem. Ripley was a strong female character. And I don't think the female characters today, or the so-called strong female characters today, live up to the standards of the Ripleys or the Sarah Connors and so on and so on. They're just a pale in comparison. So when they do die, you don't really give a crap. Like, you know, or if they survive, you're kind of mad that they survived. Like, she should have died, man.
I would argue that what Alien has that Terminator used to have and doesn't have anymore. And that, what else? So yeah, I think Terminator is probably the best example. What Alien has still managed to retain is a sense of prestige, that as a brand, as a line. And I'm not saying they've not put a foot wrong, and we know that there's lots of people who've got some very strong opinions about the various films. I'm not even sure how or why it's managed to retain its prestige, Gary, but I think it has. And so I really don't know whether this, okay, it could be creatively successful. It could be a success in a populist way. I really have no idea where the culture is going to go with this. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect of the show itself, because we've seen so little, and I don't really know.
That's a good thing, Dan.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. I think.
I think rather that way.
Well, I think though maybe a possible explanation for the prestige angle that you mentioned is because the people who end up doing these movies are auteurs in one way or another.
No,
not
I
only
think that's
Ridley Scott. But what I wanted to say about the TV show, first of all, props to whoever came up with that tagline, because I think that's a great tagline. We were safer in space. That's terrific. That you originally had. I read somewhere, and again, you know, who knows, but I thought I read somewhere where this TV show chronologically takes place before the original movie.
Yeah, according to the blurb here, it takes place a few years before Prometheus and decades before Ridley Scott's original 1979 movie.
Right, but then I have a question to ask then. Right, so if the alien actually ended up on Earth before the original Alien movie, then why did they send a Nostromo to fucking the planet?
There's so many more questions of that. It's all about creating the alien. So this is before Prometheus. It was before the alien was created.
Yeah, which would make no sense. So how did you?
Right. If that's the case, it can't coexist with the Covenant and Prometheus.
No.
But weren't aliens already on Earth in AVP?
Yeah, no, that doesn't coexist with anything.
Okay,
right, that shouldn't coexist with movies in general.
Yeah, I'm never quite sure where those films sit with every. I always consider them part of the Predator franchise rather than the Alien franchise.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
you can have a cartoon and it will work.
Yeah, you know what I'd love? I'd love this TV show to have? I'd love this TV show to have like 70s, 80s style, like opening, like starring whoever, you know, and it's like on the next episode of Alien Earth. You know, and then you get the TJ Hooker type
wouldn't it be
promos.
Weird if
that would be great.
Run on some kind of romantic boat, and then each week there's several subplots about some kind of romantic happening. While the aliens keep the boat running.
I'll give it a go, man. I mean, that's the one thing I will say because I'm an Alien fan, so I will give it a go. I just hope it's not a letdown. That's all. That's all I'll say. But you know, the fact that they've shown so little. As Dan was saying, you know, I think he said it was a good thing. I think it is a good thing. I think the less they show of this, you know, I think you'll build more hype that way. You know, they don't show us too much. That little teaser, the way the camera angle from the alien point of view was deadly, man. That I actually thought that was pretty impressive. So don't give us too much. Don't oversell it, and we'll see what it's like. You know, I'll give it a go. As I said, I gave Romulus a go because I'm an Alien fan. It wasn't my cup of tea. I like some things in it, but I preferred Prometheus. I have to say, I'm just being honest. I preferred Prometheus over Romulus.
We haven't got long to wait until we find out this Alien Earth premieres on Hulu later this summer. And
before we come off this, Dan, I think one of the most important things about the series is to get the characters right and get us to like them, because otherwise we're just not going to care every time they're going to be offed. I mean, in the original Alien movies, they were terrifying sci-fi, and we were hoping that the crew survived. And in subsequent Alien movies, we're just hoping the alien offs them as quickly as possible.
Exactly. I agree with that. That's exactly it.
I'm not sure how many episodes there are to Alien Earth yet, but maybe over that increased runtime, they'll have more room to get us to like a few people, to get us to feel the drama a little bit more. Who knows? And finally, I think we've got time for one more because we've overrun on various things, which is absolutely fine. We do it live, everybody, and that's part of the fun of it. But I think we can't possibly not talk about this next one, simply because Noel is very excited.
In the showdown between the colas, there's only one deciding factor: great taste. Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
We are blessed with more comments from the live chat and more people too, including Tomby, who says hail all. We get a lot of hails here on the Spacebook. Have you noticed that? Love Alien. Aliens. I have come round on Alien 3, but this? No, says Lord Thoth. I don't. Do you ever say yes to anything, Lord Thoth?
He's at the been slagging me over Prometheus. Listen, I said I have a soft spot for it. It is listen, I have a problem with that movie, but there's just something about it that draws me back to it. Like
Yeah,
I know it's
I find it so watchable. It really is so interesting.
I don't know what it is. I know it's a terrible movie, but like Rabbi, I'm just drawn back to it all the time. Maybe it is the visuals. I don't know, but I don't know. I like the characters.
Like,
I like the characters.
Scene, right when the big white guy takes the whatever that is and then dissolves into the DNA.
Yeah.
Right. That's so, and then they find them, and it's just, everything about it is just foreboding and really strange, and then horrific. And the horror in it, I think is really good. It's just, I think the storytelling's a bit disjointed. I don't know, maybe it's a bit baggy in the middle.
My favorite saying is the fella with the Scottish fella and the other fella when they get trapped in the actual thing, and then the thing comes out of the water, grabs onto a man's arm, deadly. Yeah, that's deadly.
Stephen Braddock's got a point here. Why does it have to be a prequel in reference to the Alien series? It's not going to be based on the Alien Earth War in the comics. Then no. Don't get any of that. I think people are really fed up with prequels as regards any of these properties, and I can see why. I think obviously Star Trek suffers from that more than any other, but I think generally speaking, people are just tired of it. I think that generally what they want is something to be pretty linear. If we have got to, just like Chris was saying, be faced with sequel after reboot after sequel after extension, then at least go easy on us and tell us these stories in the right order.
I know you want to move from this real quickly. I just want to say, do you think they'll use this show to try and rewrite history?
No.
Well,
If you think about it, if it's a prequel, it's going to Earth, right? But yeah, the Force, it contradicts the Force movie.
Well, I can't tell you, Noel, the amount of times I've sat here or there or somewhere in the pub talking with other friends, and we've sat and these projects have been announced and mused on, well, how can this possibly work because of X, Y, and Z? And you know what? 9 times out of 10, the film or the TV show comes out and they've gone to great lengths to sandwich it in there and to make it work and to actually fit something in. And sometimes it's more convoluted than others so they can do the thing that they want to do. But I'm sure that it will absolutely fit in. As to, and for some people that can be a deal breaker if they feel that that's too much of a stretch for them. I'll accept a fair amount. I'll give them a certain amount of elbow room if what is ultimately delivered gives me a good time. If I feel that it's been committed to the screen and put before us in good faith to entertain as well as to make a few quid, then I'll happily sort of get on board with something which is a little hokey. But in this respect, I think that they've gone to such lengths to maintain the prestige of the Alien brand, or they've been very fortunate in the way that it hasn't been diluted too much, that it's lost its prestige, that they will be mindful. They'll be mindful of that. I mean, in the Alien Romulus film, which, as I said, I liked. I thought that was a better than average, certainly. No, I'd say it's a monster runaround movie for the 21st century. But in that film, I can't argue, they committed a cardinal sin in effectively winking at the audience members with callbacks in dialogue to other movies. I don't think the Alien series has ever done that before. It's above that kind of mentality. Yeah. So it really stood out. It's like in at the beginning of The Last Jedi, when the two guys in the two Imperial officers are there, and I think Poe Dameron is about to they're face to face having a standoff, and those two Empire officers suddenly start talking like they're from 21st century Earth, and it's using slang and stuff like that, and it really stands out because Star Wars had never done that before, so it doesn't sound like Star Wars. That scene in Alien Romulus, it didn't sound real. It sounded like we were watching a skit based on Alien, and it just made me groan.
Well, we were essentially Alien Romulus was more like an Alien ride, right, or the script to an Alien game, right? It was supposed to give you an alien-like experience, and I think it did that. It delivered that quite well. But it was that to be an alien movie, you've got to be innovative, which is where I think Prometheus succeeded, and to a great extent, Covenant.
And I think that's probably why. I think that's probably why, Rabbi, that despite and people don't like what I know, there's a great deal of people out there who don't like what Ridley Scott did, but at least he did it according to his vision, and it wasn't particularly compromised. That comes across. You either like it or you don't, and I think that's why the brand.
And I would say that's the through line of the first 4 Alien movies.
Well,
Aliens, Alien 3, and even the Alien Resurrection, which wasn't a great movie. I haven't seen it in years, but it wasn't like...
That's an abomination. That's
that was an abomination.
What were you going to say?
They did stuff you hadn't seen on cinema before. I think it was
before we move on. Z, what were you going to say?
I think the biggest thing that everybody's missing out here is Disney owns the Alien franchise now.
Yes.
Oh, for God's sake!
So it's if their version of Nitty Gritty is hyper realistic is Daredevil. And that's tepid at best.
I think, look, I'm not going to defend Disney as such. You know, they've ruined quite a lot of things that I love, and they've, you know,
but the stuff on Hulu.
I don't think, but yeah, I think it would be silly to hold this line, the kind of culture war line that everything Disney touches is absolute shit, because it isn't. There's plenty of stuff, and I'm sorry, Z, I disagree. I think just because something that is owned by Disney doesn't mean that it's going to be awful. I think that those Hulu shows we mentioned earlier on are good. Some of them are fantastic, and that there's plenty of, in my view, there's enough good stuff that means that I personally think that that's goofy culture war nonsense. The stuff that people on this side of the aisle just say because it's what the critical drinker says and what so-and-so says. I don't think that everything that Disney touch is absolutely awful, and they ruin everything that they own.
Oh, no,
that's
they
probably
do.
Quite a contentious thing to say.
Laura, right, have a success every now and again.
I get tired, and this is nothing against you, but I get tired of hearing that narrative because it simply isn't true. And I know there's a lot of people who make a lot of money out of repeating that narrative over and over again, but in my view, it's simply not true. And whilst they have ruined Star Wars and they have ruined the Marvel cinematic stuff, and they don't know what they're doing with other things, I think there's plenty of other projects which are being
the odd gem does come out from Disney. It's like BBC as well, isn't it? Like, you know, whatever they're doing with Doctor Who, but BBC still have some hit shows. You know, they do. You can't say everything on BBC is shit either. But you know,
nothing BBC that wasn't shit. I'm trying. I mean, like, was it? What was the last time we had one?
It's usually the stuff. It's usually the stuff, Rabbi, that they've been sensible enough to sort of to take from an independent and kind of leave them alone to make it.
Yeah,
they've started interfering a little with things like interfering a little with things like Death in Paradise, and there's that police show that's like 5 or 6 years in that everybody Line of Duty. So there's always exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
And I think there are plenty of exceptions to the there's some decent stuff on Disney Plus.
Well, as I said at the very start, the fact that this show's on Hulu FX gives a thumbs up for me, because, as I said, Hulu and FX do have decent shows. So I said that at the very beginning when I spoke about this. So, you know, that's what gives me hope for this personally.
Honestly, if anybody there hasn't seen Fargo, I believe that's on Disney Plus.
Well, if somebody tells me this is good after the fact and after everything is aired, at some point I might check it out. But
well, you know, and Bowles, you should really check out Fargo, because each season is its own thing. It's like completely different beginning, middle, different setting, different time period, and he's always telling interesting stories with it. Like, but it's a real showcase for him as a writing talent.
It's on my list.
After everything I've just said, I do think that Disney and Hulu ruined the Orville. But yeah,
wait, ruined what? Oh, the Orville, yeah.
Yeah, the first two seasons of the Orville were great. I think they got the balance absolutely right in the second season, but they ruined it after that. So
I want to get onto this for the last segment because I think it's worth talking about, because it's just dropped in the last few days. So look into the cinema in what will have to be the last one of our trailer roundup for the time being. So we've got this. It's a trailer for a spin-off to a hugely successful series of films over the last 10 years or so, the John Wick movies. Whilst this isn't a prequel, it is sort of a prequel to the fourth one, but a sequel to the third one, kind of. And it's directed by Len Wiseman, Ballerina. So we've been hearing about this for years as well. I think it was commissioned in around 2021. So we've got the original script. Was excuse me. So yes, it was announced in April 2021, and what happened was they bought the script and then made it part of this franchise. We'll come to that in a moment or two. But it stars Ana de Armas, who I last saw, I think, in No Time to Die, the James Bond movie. But this actress has been around for quite a time, hasn't she? And she plays a young assassin who's trained in the traditions of the Ruska Roma. I've no idea what that is. But in the trailer, it showcases her journey as she seeks revenge for the murder of a family member. And there's lots of really intense action sequences and a lot of gung fu, which we're used to seeing in the John Wick movies. And there's flamethrowers and cars and slam doors. And it's all very high octane.
John Wick's in it.
John Wick himself. So it's very high octane stuff. So has everybody had a chance to watch this trailer? And what did you think, Rabbi?
Well, okay, I'm not a massive John Wick fan, right? I've seen the first one. I bought the first two on Apple, and I don't think I watched the second one. They were like, they're okay, they're fun action movies. Don't really do anything for me that much. But now, because I thought this trailer was really good, right? And I like Keanu Reeves a lot. I like Ana de Armas a lot. And this just looked like a really fun movie. They should have made her a lot more hot throughout the trailer. Look, Tom Cruise is always hot in every frame he's in, right? There's nothing wrong in Ana de Armas looking hot, right? They had her look a bit too utilitarian, in a lot of this trailer. But it looked like super fun. So on the strength of this, I'm going to go back and watch John Wick 1, and if I haven't seen it, 2, and then 3. I'll watch all 3.
Rabbi, we're counting.
Suck me in.
Rabbi, we're counting on you for a lot of good ballerina thumbnails.
Well, I think I could do that for you.
She's a very beautiful woman, and she's got a lot of charisma, Ana de Armas. And I'm excited to see her attached to this. It's the second expansion of the John Wick franchise after the event TV series, The Continental, from a couple of years ago, which I've still not got round to seeing. But the fact that how's Keanu Reeves? He's got to be 60, 61 now. So she's a generation younger. You think, well, on the surface of it, all this looks like is a female version of John Wick. And yet, but this trailer, and when I hit play on this trailer, it was such a feast for the eyes. It looked so much fun that within 10 or 15 seconds, I didn't really care. And I thought, I'd go and see this. I'll probably go and see this at the cinema.
I would have, but I will totally watch it at home.
I would say this. I didn't mind the trailer, and I don't know a man who isn't a fan of Ana de Armas, so that's definitely a plus. I think this. I don't think this needed to be attached to John Wick. Again, sort of what I was going off of earlier. Even though John Wick is a newer franchise, it's still a spin-off of John Wick. I would have liked to have seen this be its own thing. We could have something new. So I would rather them not have attached this. Actually, I still haven't seen the last John Wick one, although as a non-person, I definitely like the whole plot line of the first one, even though I only watched that scene once and I will never watch it again. So the fact,
Chris, that this happens sort of in tandem and in between the third and fourth one actually will work out fine for me because I haven't seen that last one yet. It might.
Yeah,
I needed a break. I needed a break from them.
This is probably I hardly ever get to the theater anymore. I don't know if I'll see this in the theater, but this is probably a 4K pickup. But again, I will wait for word of mouth from people whose opinion I actually respect. If they tell, again, this is another case where if I'm told by people I know who aren't grifting idiots that this is good, then I will check it out. So I will say pessimistically optimistic there.
The original script was, so it was acquired by Lionsgate, who have made the John Wick films. I think the first one of those was out in 2014, 2015. It's quite a long time now. So Lionsgate acquired this script from the writer Shay Hatton in 2017. and they went back to the writer and tasked them with incorporating it into that John Wick franchise, and then they started to put ballerina concepts into that third John Wick film. So this character that Ana de Armas is playing is in John Wick 3, but played by a different actress and shown in the sort of half light. So they've been putting the stall out for this film for quite some time. I seem to have been reading about it. It seems to have been about 10 years. So I can't believe it's finally coming out. And again, this doesn't look like anything that's going to be reinventing the wheel in any way. It just looks like a good laugh. It looks really well made. Len Wiseman, he's made some films I've really liked, and a couple of things that have left me rather cold, Gary. But if you're in the mood for a bit of sort of gun fu and a pretty girl, I don't think you can really go far wrong with this on a beer and pizza night.
Well, I mean, that kind of mirrors my reaction when I saw the trailer. I mean, I'll watch anything Ana de Armas is in all day. Yep. I mean, I think she was amazing in Knives Out. I think that she is a solid actor who happens to be incredibly beautiful. But when I was watching this trailer, I thought, okay, I didn't get a ho-hum feel. I thought, well, what I was watching is very competently done. Ian McShane shows up and he's great in anything. But I mean, it didn't stretch, it didn't push the boundaries for what, this kind of movie can be. It looks kind of like a, well done entry, maybe nothing that you haven't seen before. I get the sense, I'm wondering if Keanu Reeves is not in it until maybe like the last 10 minutes, probably, to get all the John Wick fans. But just for her alone, I'd go see this just, for her.
I mean, she is great. I mean,
Call me naive. Call me naive, Rabbi, but I wasn't expecting Keanu Reeves to be in this as John Wick. So when he turns up in this trailer, it took me by surprise. And now I feel really silly because clearly everybody else knew this was going to happen.
I really didn't know anything about this franchise at all. But look, the great thing about Ana de Armas is she's one of the new breed of actresses who knows she's sexy and likes being sexy. Right? It's one of the things in her repertoire she can do. Right? So this trailer totally won me over. Fine. To go to bed. It's like midnight for me.
Take care, Rabbi.
I'm seeing stars,
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you for sticking with us, mate. We'll see you next time, pal. Take care.
Take care, man.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And one thing I'll add, if you want to see Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas in another movie, I highly recommend Knock Knock from 2014.
Yeah, I never did get round to that.
No, neither have I. I watched the trailer. It's weird.
Izzo, which I believe she's also in this movie, or she's listed on the cast list. So I would recommend checking that out. It'll put you on edge, and it has one of the, oh, Jesus Christ endings you'll ever see.
It's not just Keanu Reeves that's made it over to this from the main films. The late Lance Reddick is in this again as Charon, the guy in the Continental that we saw in the picture a moment ago. Ian McShane's in it too as Winston. And Angelica Houston as well, who I think was in the third film. She's in this, along with newcomers Gabriel Byrne, Sharon Duncan Brewster, and Norman Reedus of The Walking Dead. So some good people in this.
Yeah, but the John Wick as a franchise is very hit and miss. I mean, the first two movies are pretty great. Really enjoyed those. Parabellum and John Wick 4 were tepid at best. Continental, I really enjoyed. But for Ballerina, I think I'll wait for the initial reviews before purchasing a cinema ticket.
I know a lot of people who love every single minute of all of these films. With me, I feel similar to you, but it was the second one that I had a big problem with. I liked the first and the third one. It's the second that I found, I wouldn't say a chore, but felt was a bit of a runaround. There's certainly always enough going on.
To quite a few people. They all thought it was pretty funny when I had to leave the room during that certain scene. You all know which scene I'm talking about. They're entertaining, but I don't think it's something that I will seek out. It's something like, oh, maybe I'll finally check this out. I'm like, when did the fourth one come out? Was it last year, 2 years ago?
Maybe the year before.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I need to catch up.
See, here's the thing. Like everybody, I watched the first movie and I thought the first movie was great. But when the second one was released, I saw people's opinions about it, and it was just like, I don't know if I want to waste me time or give me time to watching the rest of these movies. Like, I love him as an actor, but
Everybody
I
loves
kind of
Keanu
prefer,
Reeves.
but I don't know. I don't like actors like him that are great doing sequel after sequel after, because it gets tired after a while. I watched that trailer, and like everybody, I did actually say, that looks half decent. But while watching the trailer, I was thinking, is this one of these cases where this could have been turned into a TV show rather than a full movie?
Not with Anna de Armas.
No, I'm the opposite. These days, give me a movie over a TV show anytime, Noel. The problem with modern TV shows is the dragging out and the subplots that just put you to sleep. I'm now at the point where I'd like to go back where things are, quick and no filler. That's why I don't think I watch a lot of modern TV anymore, because most of them are feature films that are drawn out to 8 to 10 episodes, whatever. I just find I never finish them because it's the filler that just kills it. I'm like, okay, you're into this. Okay, here's the subplot. Okay, we're gonna have a subplot about, I don't know, some romance between characters that nobody would care about. You'd see things like that. So it's like, how pick any TV show. You've got multiple threads going through the season, and there's always like this one thing. Usually it's some kind of interpersonal conflict thing that drives the whole show down. You get to the season finale, all the exciting stuff has happened. This person just died, but oh wait, no, we're going to cut back to this other interpersonal subplot nobody cares about for 10 minutes, and then go back to the exciting stuff. So no, cut all that crap out and just give me a good action movie.
The action in this does look absolutely first rate, even though it's not Chad Stahelski. I can never pronounce Chad. I'm just going to stay. Even though it's not the John Wick director that's making this, it's Len Wiseman. It has that same sort of house style, which I think Wiseman's been around for about 25, 30 years himself now. So he's done a good job of sort of emulating, making it sit nicely in with what we know and associate with this franchise, whilst still be, I would say, pretty distinctive, because you wouldn't hire a director with that track record. I think he made the fourth Die Hard movie, didn't he? You wouldn't hire somebody with a name like that and hinder them with having to copy somebody else's style. But I'm pretty into this. I didn't think I'd be as down for it as I actually am. But it's been a while since I've seen a John Wick film too, so perhaps that's part of it. It's like the Fast and the Furious films. It doesn't matter if they make one of those every year, 18 months. I only really fancy one every 2 to 3 years. So I think I'm sort of
I think we're all craving a decent action movie or a female lead that kicks ass, because we haven't had a decent one since Kill Bill, maybe.
Yeah, let's have like a good like Sigourney Weaver, Aliens type character here. Let's not go with the flawless girl boss with this, please. I didn't get that impression from the trailer.
What was that one with Charlize Theron a couple years ago?
Which one? There were a couple god-awful
The Old Guard?
No, the action one. She was all in black.
Atomic Blonde?
Yes.
Oh God, that was dire.
Yeah,
that's the first one. The reason I mentioned that, Chris, because that was the first like female-led action movie recently I could think of.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Kill Bill is probably the last time that we actually had a female lead that was kick-ass and
a new female lead, yes. Although I guess they even kind of destroyed Sarah Connor in some of the subsequent movies too.
Yeah, it's hard to look at her in the same light. Ballerina's finally out on the 6th of June 2025 after all these years of talking about it. And I'm considering going to see this.
Well, I hope it delivers. It'd be a shame if it doesn't, because I let go what everybody else says. She is a good actress, so it'd be good if it's a hit, because I think we need one, don't we, for the summer? So come on.
Yeah.
Shelley Ingle says she looks bad ass. PD Rich says it's all right, Dan. We can all agree to disagree now. Can we? Well,
I think that was about the alien comment.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm not gonna just adhere to. That's not what I'm.
Oh, everybody has different opinions. That's what's good about it. We can't always. We're not all. We all have different, similar tastes, and we all have differences of opinions.
What I say, Noel, and this is no slight on anybody else. I'm here to make the kind of content and have the conversations that I want to have with with people like these gentlemen here that I like and respect, and I enjoy their company. So I have I don't stick to any party line. I'm not a rent-a-gob. I'm not here politically talking about this stuff. I've been making podcasts since long before the culture war, a couple of years before the culture war. So I always give my opinions as I see things unapologetically. And if it doesn't fit in with either side of the aisle, I couldn't give a flying fuck.
But you're right, man. You're right. Stay true to yourself. You should always stay true to yourself. Nobody should have the right to change your opinion on that. Right?
No, there's a lot of tribalism on both sides of the aisle that stops everyone from getting anywhere. It's not the way that people consume things naturally. It's silly. Vive la différence. And so you get different kinds of conversations. I'd like to think both here and on the Type 40 channel. Shelley Ingalls says, I heard Keanu Reeves is going to retire from John Wick because doing action movies is hurting his body. At 60, 61.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, unless the next movie is called John Wick Resurrection.
He's not dead.
No spoilers. I haven't seen the fourth one, guys. Please.
I haven't seen it either, but I don't even remember the third one. So
I'd like him to go back to the sci-fi genre. To be quite honest with you,
because it says call the midwife. So I don't know if he's if his wife is if the waters have just.
No, that's the name of the TV show that BBC had. That was a hit called The Midwife.
It still is.
Yeah, big show. Have we got any comments about this? What's the appetite like for this? Because there is a massive fan base for John Wick. He's heavily cosplayed, isn't he? He's one of those characters. Harley Quinn is another one from the first Suicide Squad movie that's so popular, despite the fact that the films themselves are kind of they're very, very Marmite, aren't they? And yet that character and that look has sort of broken through. And I think John Wick has too. I think you can talk to people who haven't seen a John Wick movie or all of one, and they will know, they will recognize that character.
Do you know how well?
It's not just Keanu Reeves. That's John Wick.
Do you know how well the John Wick character is loved? It's on Fortnite. You can get the John Wick skin and the John Wick characters on Fortnite. They sell them in the shop.
Can you really?
Yeah.
See, I think that's all. I think that's wonderful. That's a remnant of the pop culture world that we all grew up in. Yeah, I just love all that stuff.
Yeah, it's changed from when we grew up, though, Dan. It's it's mad to me. Like literally, people buying skins on Fortnite, Marvel characters. All the Marvel characters are on Fortnite now. You can literally
it's the equivalent of. It's an extension of the kind of. When they first started doing Star Wars Lego, for example, Z, or like things going across brands, or even I suppose collecting stickers attached to whatever movie was big at any given time. I think I've got Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom sticker book, that kind of thing. I think it's a similar thing.
The Ghostbusters stuff as well.
I love sticker books.
Do you remember the Ghostbusters stuff as well? You got the Ghostbusters stuff when the movie came out. Oh my god!
Everything Ghostbusters and everything ET.
Yeah,
I can't see me getting a ballerina lunchbox, but I'll be there. I'm pretty certain I'm going to go and watch this. There's a few films that are on the starting blocks this year that I am going to go to the cinemas and take a look at, get an eyeful of. And we'll get back here and let you know what I think of it all, and we can compare and contrast, can't we?
I hope it's good. I really do. I'm not, I think we're all craving good movies. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be the most intelligent movies either. You look at Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, if you break that down, it's a basic fucking script, and the plot is really all over the place. But it's so fun from minute one. You forget all of that. It takes you to a different place, And we've had doom and gloom for the past few years. So when that movie came out, I thought it was very refreshing. It was fun, and I genuinely had a laugh watching that movie. I mean, that entire opening scene. I mean, seriously, I think it's the best opening scene to a Deadpool movie. Anyway, personally speaking, but that whole scene is just. It's absolutely ridiculous, but
yeah, you don't go to see a movie like Ballerina for some kind of commentary on the human condition.
Exactly.
You're just going to see it for get your popcorn and go for
and
it.
Sit back and enjoy. Exactly, and we haven't had enough of that.
I feel largely the same about stuff like Alien. I think that although, as I say, I described it as having prestige, still they are still big monster movies. They're not stupid monster movies, but they are still monster movies. And again, I think you can have too much of a good thing. And like the Terminator, the reason why the Terminator lost its sort of its prestige and its consistency was when they stopped being chase films. That's all those they're chase movies. That might be elaborate in some respects, but it's not hard sci-fi. They're chase films that happen to involve a killer cyborg. Rather than I don't know, somebody trying to escape being banged up for 20 years or something. They're high.
I'm going to say something controversial here, right? I love T2. Terminator was brilliant, right? But I love T2. But here's the controversial take: Terminator should never have been a franchise.
I know a great many people who feel that way as well. Yeah. Let's wrap things up, everybody, and thank you everybody for all the comments. We do have one more thing, which I think it would be how could we can't possibly sleep without taking a look at this. Yes, as if we could possibly forget, Chris. We've had this one in the barrel. We've had this one in the barrel for a little while now. I think we have to look at this simply because it's so great. So, why don't you introduce this week's PSA of the week, my friend?
Okay, so this week we're going to call this one forklift safety and what not to do when one is driving a forklift, because it may end badly. So just roll it, Dan.
Forklift safety. Yeah, here we go. I've always wanted to drive one, but I think maybe after watching this, might not be the best of ideas. It is going, I promise.
Hey, Jim! You take care of that skid? Yeah. 911! We got an accident here!
What the hell?
This was no accident. The company knows it's against code to store that much weight up there. I knew I should have been focused on what I was doing. And it's obvious the supervisor didn't report that broken shelf.
What the hell?
That's some Final Destination shit right there.
That was deadly.
That's one of the best ones yet.
Thank you once again to the Workplace Safety Insurance Board of Ontario, who have brought us such greats as the lady in the kitchen and the lady who fell into glass while working.
My favorite.
That's
This is unbelievable. This one. We've seen some great. I think it probably is my favorite of everyone that we've seen, including that woman getting punched in the head. Yeah,
we got a few of those. So Canada continues. So again, this is why we're all traumatized.
But it does look like a horror movie, doesn't it, Z?
Bloody does. I love PSA films. They're great.
Yeah. The British are deadly though.
Oh yeah. Like Building Sites Bite is a particular favorite of mine. which has lots of kids being offed on building sites. Didn't stop me playing on them, but obviously I looked out for all of the hazards because I've been taught that they existed.
My favourite ones was when the little bastards got fried because they touched an electrical cable.
Oh, is that when the frisbee went into the electric?
Yeah, do you remember that one with the frisbee? Yeah, your man goes in to get the frisbee.
And you know what? I never went into an electricity power substation after watching that.
No, they worked though. That's the thing. They worked. Scared the shit out of us, but they worked.
Well, this is why nobody wants to drive a forklift in Canada or work in a restaurant or ever step on a ladder in a retail space.
Work at a big box store.
Do you know what was great? Dan put all the faces on the side there. Our reaction to that video was hilarious. Every single one of our faces was just like, what the hell? It was funny, I swear.
Oh, and there was that one that Patrick Troughton did
I've actually seen that
on the polished floor. That was great.
Was it? I thought you were going to mention the scene from The Omen where he gets the church
No. He did the voiceover for the mum who polishes her floor and then puts a mat on it. He did the voiceover for that.
Okay. I'll have to look at that.
Oh, we'll have to check that out.
My favorite part about Troughton getting impaled in The Omen is it ends up on the front page of the newspaper the next day.
Yeah. I thought for sure, Chris, somebody was going to get impaled with a forklift on this one. I thought.
Well, that's why you never quite know what's coming with these.
I actually thought the forklift driver was going to pick up whatever he was going to pick up and then bang into the manager or something, run him over, crush him to death or something. I wasn't expecting that.
No. Workplace violence happens when you're late. That's what we've learned in Canada. You get punched.
We are the champions of all public service movies here, public information films too, and there'll be lots more coming, I've no doubt, as our live streams continue. So what else? It's about time we wrapped up. It's getting late, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. As always, let us know what you're going to be watching over the rest of the weekend as we limber up. But it is time that we shot off. There we are. There it is. Shot off. Z, thank you so much for being our guest on this edition of the show. We've kept you up a little bit there. Been as explosive as ever. You've always got to sort of fight for air on these shows, but you've been as game as always. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me on, Dan. I look forward to the next one. And thanks to the rest of the panel and everybody in the chat.
Marvelous stuff. How do you think it's gone with Donkey Karen?
Donkey Karen has lots of things to cancel us for today. We'll get more updates on Frank next week, but it's not going good. Oh yes, and he's still in jail. He's still with what's left of the ICE detainees, and now they're apparently making him wear a dress.
Well, we, as always, our hopes are with Frank. He makes it through. The Tommy Robinson of the of the animal kingdom. May as well mention his name. I can mention everything else. Yes, thank you again, Chris. And our thoughts are with Frank. If people want to hear more from you, they can find you. Where's the best place?
You can find me on YouTube at Bulls Trek and at Cultivated Media. I've got a YouTube channel. I will be covering RTD's latest dumpster fire. I can't promise to do every episode every week because I don't know if I want to put myself through that again. But you'll get some of them, and so God help me.
We have to speak some more about that privately, but it's only 3 weeks, everybody. Only 3 weeks. Speaking of the TARDIS, Noel from the TARDIS Zone, thank you for coming on again, mate. It's good to have you back.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I actually had a laugh tonight, so I always have a laugh when I come on here because someone just sets me off with the shit that they say. I thought I was bad, but thanks for having me. No, I really, really appreciate it. It's always nice to come on and have a chat with people, especially you guys, because we don't always agree, which is great. And I love that because we have heated debates, and now I'm just rambling on now, and I'm just looking at the shit from
as I said on the last one, the reason why we can talk about all that political stuff that we did last time is because a lot of us have known each other for a few years. We know each other pretty well, and so I think that's a lot of it. But yeah, we do like to have fun on this show. I mean, some of the stuff we talk about, yeah, it can be a bit contentious, and some of our opinions can be what some would call problematic. But you know,
me contentious, never.
If they don't like it, they can lump it, Chris.
Well, that's my attitude. If my comments or anything I say are problematic to people, then there's just one simple solution. There's a thing called the block button. There's a thing, don't watch me videos to get enraged in the first place. You know, I've got better things to be doing than listening to someone rant on about what I've said. You know what I mean? I just do what I do. But like Chris, I'm gearing up, waiting to bash season 2 of Doctor Who. In particular, can't wait to see the episode that Juno Dawson has written. That's going to be an absolutely spectacular a mess, and we're going to have great fun doing it.
Well, I do hope you all come on Type 40 at some point. We can talk.
Oh, if you're doing panels, man, I'll come. Listen, if you're doing panels, I'll throw my name in the hat straight away.
Watch that Space and Time, everybody. And thank you to PD Rich, to Lord Thoth, to Darren, to Vanessa, to everybody there who's been putting the YouTube channels in the live chat as well. So I do always flash up the links so that people can be followed on X, because we do have, there's a lot of activity over on X, and we tend to sort of tie up with that quite a lot. But obviously YouTube channels are in the chat as well for the people who don't know. And got to run, says Lord Thoth. Yes, we've got to run too. And the most problematic of us all, of course, Mr. Gary Akers. Thank you for coming back on, mate. Always a pleasure. What have you got planned for the rest of your weekend?
Oh boy, I'm going to continue my slow movement through the season 7 set. I've got some movie lineup of I'm going through all the Die Hard movies and some series like that. Tomorrow, I'm going on Sci-Fi Chronicles, where we're continuing our movement through Planet of the Apes with talking about Beneath the Planet of the Apes.
Awesome.
And, just kind of, I've made a promise to myself that I'm only going to be watching stuff anymore that I really, really love. I'm not going to be, life's too short. I'm not going to be.
Yeah. I've done the same.
Spending a lot of time with that. But no, thanks for having me on. It's always just the greatest fun. And it's great. It was great to be on with the Z for me personally for the first time. So thank you very much, Z. I enjoyed it.
It's always a pleasure.
And on that, I think we've summed up another week in Geek quite nicely. We've burned up enough with the new trailers. There's a few that we didn't get round to. Maybe we'll get round to them another time. But we've got to swing off now. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your company and your comments. And we'll hitch off, I suppose. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.